Pleased to have the head coach of the Wildcats, Pat Fitzgerald, here with us. Coach, let's start with Dublin. How does opening in Ireland change things for you in the preseason?
Yeah, it starts calendar-wise. Everything's bumped up a week. We'll report tomorrow night. Start practice on Thursday, basically a week before everybody else does. Behind the scenes is where all that happens, right? The logistics, the operations, moving a program, and Frosty moving his program, over for basically a bowl week in Dublin. So a lot behind the scenes. You try to make it so the players and the staff don't see any change of a normal road game. So more like a bowl game, basically. But in training camp, it'll be the same.
Okay. On top of that, the notion of going to Ireland and being abroad, you guys have a bye week afterward, which they don't have. Are you going to be able to kind of integrate seeing a little bit of Dublin into your schedule, or is it simply, hey, we're going over there to play a game, we're coming back because we got 11 more to follow?
Yeah, two different focuses. Before the game, it'll be like a bowl week. We land, we'll have a walkthrough, and then we'll be back basically on our Thursday, Friday, play the game routine. We're going to stay in country Sunday and not come back until Monday morning, Monday afternoon, depending on when we can get out of the airport. So that'll give the guys at least maybe, the night Saturday and then all day Sunday to enjoy, the camaraderie, the community, the culture, and, most of their families that are making the trip will be able to be there and they'll be able to share that together. When we get back on the plane, we would probably give our guys Tuesday, Wednesday off anyways of a bye week. That's our anticipation. And then get back going Thursday, Friday, the weekend off, and we're back into the gauntlet.
I want to be fair to you and Coach Frost, so I asked him the same question. Do you wish it was in Rome?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. No, as someone who has family roots that have immigrated, but, I'd love to go to Rome. I'll go with you. That would be terrific. Maybe not to take a football team. But, this could become a really neat tradition for the Big Ten. The way the Aer Lingus College Football Classic folks have explained it to us. And they've been fabulous. And I think, especially for a lot of my guys, we play in the Pinstripe Bowl. A lot of guys have never been to Manhattan. Now going to Ireland, a lot of guys have never been abroad. So getting a passport, we're talking through insurance. These are once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, using it through the game of football, sharing it together. What a great experience.
Coach, you went through some transition on defense last year.
Yeah.
What were you most pleased about the defense in the spring?
Well, I think we're getting back fundamentally to what we gave away last year. I think that was our biggest issue. We can talk scheme and maybe different terminology. That was pretty minimal. But, our ability to control the point on the line of scrimmage was evident. And we've been built on the line of scrimmage. That's who we are. We know who we are. And so we've fixed that by competitive depth with newcomers. Being in the whole offseason. We didn't get impacted by COVID in 20. We had a veteran group. We, especially on defense, it hurt us last year when our developmental program in the weight room, the way we develop our guys, we missed 6-8 months of that development. That manifested in the group that was next. That's not an excuse. That's the reality. So when you're talking about whys and how do we fix it, that was priority number one. And we actually tweaked, turn the dials a little bit when you've been at a place as long. Not wholesale changes, but a little tweak. We've run less. We've pumped more iron. We've put a focus more on getting back to where we've been from strength levels. Jay Hooten and that staff's done a great job. We've set program high PRs, but it's a little skewed. Stats are for losers because we weren't where we needed to be. And I think we're back, and that we'll see right away. Scott's got a great team. They've got a very physical team. They run the ball incredibly well. They challenge you schematically. They challenge your personnel. We're going to find out if that work is paid off right away in the opener.
Coach, the transfer portal, you guys bring some guys in. How has that integration worked for you guys?
Well, I'll go back to 2004, last time with the whistle. I'll go back to 2006, my first time as a head coach with the whistle. Completely different world in college football. And you have to evolve. And we've evolved as a university. We've evolved as a program. And it's all about adding competitive depth, but not losing the fit and not losing the culture of your locker room. And our staff has done a really, really good job. Our recruiting staff has done a phenomenal job of identifying. And we've got a lot of interest in guys that we recruit out of high school. That's the first group I'm hearing from are the guys that we recruit out of high school, circling back and just got to make sure they're the right fit. And, totally different than maybe even 3 years ago, Coach. That's how quickly this has changed. Completely different than 2006. Yeah. But, you got to evolve. We're going to be a scholastic model. We're going to recruit high school, period. But you got to fill competitive depth issues through the portal.
And even though you don't probably use the portal maybe as much as some other programs, you probably have less attrition than most programs. Most private schools do.
That's correct.
So how do you manage your numbers with the portal and with such good rate of retention?
Yeah, that's a great question. An ongoing thing you have to be aware of.
Right.
Roster management has become a major part of my job. So again, looking at it scholastically first, we project this number will be our graduating seniors. That's our hard target in high school numbers. And then as we move forward through the process of recruiting, and then based on where we feel like we've got to add, that's kind of how we've gone through the portal.
Coach, I want to ask you about the quarterback spot. In the 2 years that you have not done well in the last 4, quarterback play has frankly been subpar. In the 2 years that you won the Big Ten, your quarterback play has been really good.
Yeah.
You did not go in the portal. You kept the guys that you have.
Yeah.
Give us a sense of where you are at the quarterback position.
Yeah, we've got a great battle going on. You know, Ryan Helinski and Brendan Sullivan are came out of spring ball neck and neck. Both guys have done really well. I took a couple days, but I've been to pretty much every workout this summer, and they've done a really good job leading. They've done a good job. They're both different personalities, and I've really been pleased. Now, football comes out on Thursday. I'd rather have the decision made in the rearview mirror, but within the next 10 days to 2 weeks, we'll make that internally. Probably before you guys, maybe around when you guys come to campus. And we're playing a Big Ten opponent, so I won't say anything. I wouldn't say anything anyways. But we'll know internally, and then I like where we're at, in that room. And again, we're getting back to who we are from a scholastic quarterback recruitment standpoint. We've been pretty good in my time. And we're going to get back to that and develop it within our locker room. And if we have to, we'll go back in the portal. But feel good about where we're at.
What's the latest on the stadium project?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's, first of all, amazing generosity. Couldn't say thank you enough to the Ryan family. And there'll be more families that join that group. But, Mr. Ryan, Mrs. Ryan, and the entire Ryan family, we're working through it with Erick and the administration at the university. And, exciting times to come. Our fans, Big Ten fans, Evanston, Chicagoland, deserve, really what we should have, and that's a world-class facility, and that's where we're going.
Is this the last year in Ryan Field, or is that?
Yeah, so I coach the football team. So those are really good questions for someone near Dr. Derek Rack. So no.
Just asking, right?
Just ask.
This is Northwestern on Northwestern violence.
Ask questions.
I've had a bunch of softballs till right now. Yeah.
I thought the whole idea was to ask questions.
Yeah.
Who graduated first out of you two?
First in their class?
No, not me. I promise you it wasn't me.
Whoever, you're older.
I'm significantly older than Fitz. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Trevor was a professional basketball player.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Ireland, in the old country, Pat. I'll tell you about the old country when we have some time. That's going to do it for Coach Fitz. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Best of luck.
Thanks,
and safe travels.
Thanks,
over
guys. Go Cats.
to Ireland. Tiawan Mullen showing off his basketball ability. Pretty good form there, Tiawan. Not bad. The focus, the determination from the Indiana defensive back. Focus and determination to be back on the field as well. Great to have Tiawan here. Joined as well by Cam Jones, A.J. Barner. Guys, welcome. I want to start with this. I know it wasn't the year that you wanted last year. AJ, maybe you can start, but I want to hear from each of you. How do you kind of compartmentalize what happened last year and then move on and use it as a positive to move forward?
Yeah, I feel like, we're kind of using that as fuel, but at the same time looking forward, but just keeping that in mind. But, just behind closed doors, we've been working. It's just been kind of a quiet off season for us, but all the guys have remained focused. We're coming this year with a lot of edge and hunger. So,
Cam?
I think with a leader like, Coach Tom Allen, he preaches to us that sometimes in life you get knocked down, but it's always about how you get back up. And, we've been working, like AJ said, and I'm just so excited for this season and, watch these boys ball out.
Well, to pick up on what Cam said, it's not how you get knocked down. It's just how you get back up. We've just been working, getting back to our identity. Everybody got their head low and just grinding. Come September 2nd, we'll be ready to put it on showcase.
One thing I love about this program, and you were talking about Coach Allen and kind of how positive he is, Cam. I think one of the things that is unique is this notion of having a word, that every player in the program has a word for each year, and it changes each year. And it's kind of the one word that they focus on, and they have to come to Coach Allen with a word and a reason for the word. So I ask this every year at Media Day of the IU players. So, Tiawan, I can start with you on your word, and let's just work our way down and what you chose and why.
My one word is remember. Remember that I am God's child. Remember who I am. and just remember, no matter what, through adversity, that you can overcome it, and I just put John 3:16 at the bottom of it.
Cam?
Yeah, my one word was work, and I chose work because, I had to realize that, sometimes people don't care about how I feel. You just got to go to work. You just got to go to work every single day, no matter how you feel and no matter, what people think. It's always about how you attack the day.
AJ?
Yeah, my one word this year was breakthrough. So the past couple of years, I've been kind of sitting behind Peyton Hendershot, just doing my time, doing my thing. But this year, I really want to have a breakout season. And then as a team, just break through, get a bowl win a bunch of games. So I'm super excited and ready to get started.
When we talk about what happened last year, I think it's fair to mention you guys had a run of injuries, maybe unlike any that we've seen in the Big Ten in recent memory. And Tiawan, you were a part of that.
Exactly.
Give us a sense of your rehab and how you're feeling. I mean, you were coming off an All-American season the year before and really was cut short last year.
Oh, everything happened for a reason. God just had a better plan for me. And once my ankle, injury occurred, I had some of the best trainers to rehab my ankle, been getting stronger, and I'm 100% healthy now. I'm ready to go. And I just been out with the guys, summer workouts, running, and Tiawan Mullen is back.
You're back physically. You're also back in terms of, hey, I'm back at IU. You had a decision to make, and obviously the injury probably factored into it somewhat, but Cam, you did as well. What were the factors for each of you? I can start with you, Cam, that led you back for another year rather than trying to test the next level?
So it was a couple reasons. One, I feel like, the season didn't end the way it did. And I just can't leave out on that note. Personally, I'm just not that type of guy. Another reason, Coach Allen. Coach Allen, I trust in him. I believe in him. I was telling someone earlier, like if Coach Allen told me to go run into a brick wall, I know it's a reason. So I'm 110% into that brick wall.
Some goal might be behind there.
So it was definitely Coach Allen. Just come back with these guys. I think that a lot of times we take this experience, this college football experience, for granted, and you never get it back. I never play college football again after this. So just to be on the field with these guys again, to have a man like Coach Allen lead me, it was a no-brainer.
Well said. Tiawan?
Mine's, of course, the injury, and, just talking with Coach Allen, and also my defensive back coach, Coach Brandon Shelby, a guy who I look up to, a guy who's my role model, and also my little brother's on the team now.
Yeah.
And I just want to get my degree from my parents. And my little brother on the team now, just to piggyback off that, just give me extra motivation, keep me sharp, keep me on my toes. And, because he's looking at me every second, every step I take. And I don't want to leave him in the wrong direction. So he is a part why I came back. And I couldn't, like Cam said, I couldn't leave like that 2-10 because we can do much better. We showed people we can do better. We showed people we could go on the road to win the big game. We showed people we could win at home. We could beat ranked teams. So it's in our system. It's in our DNA. We're not doing them or competing. We're going to go win the games.
So let's turn our attention to this year and what's to come here for the Hoosiers. And there have been some changes. The coaching staff, Walt Bell coming in to coach the offense. Give us a sense of what that offense is going to look like, AJ.
Yeah, I feel like Coach Bell brings a lot of new things to the table. But, anytime on offense, I feel like a lot of the same things conceptually people are doing, just running different concepts. But, we got a lot of new pieces on the offense, too. Some new transfers at receiver. DJ Matthews coming back. Sean Shivers at running back. Josh from North Carolina. And, Coach Bell just bringing in a new offense. And I feel like September 2nd, when that comes, we'll be ready to go. And we're going to put up a lot of points.
Cam and Tiawan, give me a sense of defending this new offense. What are the challenges that it presents?
Our offense is filled with great guys like AJ. Dogs. I don't know any other way to put it. But it's going to be electrifying, and I can't wait to watch it.
Same. Going against AJ every day and going against Coach Bell, getting to know him. They give us great looks. And, AJ is a big body. He's 6'6". He give us Big Ten tight end looks, and he get me ready whenever I have to guard the tight end. So, and Coach Bell get us ready. And just going against AJ, every day, he gets me ready for bigger guys.
You have a new defensive coordinator as well, Chad Wilt. So schematically, what should we expect there, Tiawan?
A high energy guy who love and care just like Coach Allen, and just gonna call the plays, and whenever. When it's his time, he gonna let his players just run freely, and we're gonna do what we have to do.
Yeah.
Very passionate guy, and I'm really truly blessed to have Coach Chad Wilt, on our side of the ball. Just the knowledge he brings, like Tiawan said, and the passion and the energy and love you have. When you have a coach that loves you, it makes you want to play harder for them, and that's what that's the energy that Coach Wilt brings to the table.
There's always going to be focus in college football on the quarterback room. You did bring in one new face, Connor Bazelak, transferred in from Missouri. Give us a sense of what he brings.
Yeah, I think Connor's a great player. He's been proven at this level. We also got Jack Tuttle coming back. He's dealt with a couple injuries. And then we got some more guys in that room. Dexter Williams, another one in my class, and then some other guys. But I feel like the biggest thing with those guys is just leadership, them commanding the huddle, taking charge. But whoever we send out there week one, I have full confidence in them, and I know they're going to do a great job.
What would make a successful season for the Hoosiers, guys?
Just taking care of business, everyone staying healthy, and getting back on track like we've done the past 2 years.
Cam?
Yes, sir. Like you said, I feel like we always been, this close. That close don't win you games.
Tiawan?
Just getting back to our identity. A lot of people seen us when we get our hands on the ball, and we're very dangerous when we get our hands on the ball and get offense more opportunities to put the ball in the end zone.
Tiawan, Cam, AJ, great to talk to all three of you. Best of luck this season to the Hoosiers.
Thank you for having us.
Mike Locksley joining us now. Coach, great to see you. How do you build on that? I mean, not just having a winning year, but an emphatic bowl win over Virginia Tech. What's next? How do you carry it forward and make that the first step towards something even bigger?
Yeah, Dave, that's the big misconception, is that you build on it. As if the 7 wins are guaranteed, let's build on it. And so we've got to squash the build on it.
All right.
But hopefully learn from what it took to get to that point, and then do it a little better. Because, we're a developmental program. Obviously, 7 and 6 is not our standard, but we do embrace the fact that from when we got here to where we were, we've made progress. And so we do acknowledge that. But we can't build on it. What we've got to do is make that our standard in terms of the preparation, the journey, and not necessarily the result like we saw there up in New York.
One of the changes that you made is a new defensive coordinator, Brian Williams. Now, he was on your staff last year and, in fact, called the defensive signals in a couple games where you guys played very well. Right. How can he put his imprint on this defense?
I think B-Dub has already started to do that. We made the decision after the Michigan game a year ago. The most important game of the year was our Rutgers game, and we made him the primary play caller in that game. And I just saw the way our players responded to him in the front of the room. And then the job he did in the bowl game was phenomenal, along with the rest of the defensive staff. And then when you look at the additions that we've been able to bring on the defensive staff, Wes Neighbors, Lance Thompson coming on board, JT Thomas, I feel really good about the alignment in that room, and Brian Williams has the respect of our team and our players.
Now, offensively, a lot of the conversation is about Lia Tungavailoa. Earlier today, you said he's probably the most underrated player in the nation. I tend to agree with that, because when you see the top end of his play, it's absolutely lights out. What does he have to do to remain on that top end consistently throughout the year?
You know what, I said this, if you take the second quarter of the Iowa game out of his resume, a body of work a year ago, he broke records of some of the top quarterbacks in Maryland history. I mean, at one point, Maryland was quarterback U, Boomer Esiason, Frank Reich, Stan Gelbaugh, Neil O'Donnell, all played in the league, and these guys had records that Leah broke. The Iowa game, to me, is obviously an anomaly for him, and if you take that out, I think that's what people remember. It was a nationally televised game, but the kid played great football for us a year ago, and it's really in my craw when you talk about top quarterbacks in the country and his name doesn't come up. And the thing that he needs to continue to do, and I give a lot of credit to Dan Enos and the work that he's done with Leah, is that mental maturity that we talked about where, in the words of the late Trevor Moad, who I've worked a lot with, getting him to stay at neutral. He has the highs that are really high where he's fist pumping, high fiving, running up and down the field. And then he has some of the lows where things don't go as well and he's his own worst critic. And as I like to tell him, he doesn't talk very nicely to himself. If we can get him to go to neutral and stay there and understand that when that play is over, it dies. And I'm starting to see that from him this spring. It's year 3 in the system. The job that Dan Enos continues to do with him and his development, I expect him to continue to get better and better.
How does that help him in the leadership role when you're a quarterback that can go out and make all the plays, but you want him to stay in neutral?
Yeah, it's because they look to you for leadership. You can't. It's almost like myself. I mean, it's usually the pecking order is head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback. Well, you know, if I'm running up and down the sideline like a raging idiot, it doesn't show that the discipline necessary to have success. And so, as the leader on the field, he has to kind of mimic that personality as well as those personality or leadership traits to give that calming influence to our team.
Everybody talks about the changing landscape of college football right now, and Maryland is a program on the rise, but you've got the transfer portal, which some players might be tempted by. You've done a good job of utilizing that. You've got name, image, and likeness. You're playing in the Big Ten East. How do you maintain that focus within the locker room?
You know what? We continue to just do the things. As a coach, we've had to make that adjustment to where we become more, I call it player-centric, where the things we do in our program are designed to add value to them to where they don't want to leave. Now, the transfer portal giveth and it taketh away. We've seen that. We've benefited from it, and we've lost some good players, but that's the landscape of college football and the people that adjust and change. And, you know, as I talk to our staff, everything we do is about the player and what things can we do to add value to them outside of just name, image, and likeness that affords us the opportunity where they say, you know what, I may stay here for, you know, maybe less NIL money because they're preparing me for life after football.
How does bringing in the West Coast teams, UCLA, USC, open up the West Coast as far as recruiting for a place like Maryland that's on the East Coast?
You know what? I think it's better for our Midwest friends in the league because you drive a 4-hour radius outside of our campus and it's some dense population. And I promise you, I'm not driving over a bunch of players in my area to go out west to recruit. Now, if there's some ties, if there's, you know, the quarterbacks or position needs, you do that. But I do think it opens up the gateway for the conference as a whole. But I think some of the lessly dense schools that go to places where they have population. But for us, it's going to start with the DMV taking care of our own backyard, and we'll still go out to California and if we have needs or if there's a tie to a player.
One area where you've recruited extremely well is wide receiver. And, of course, you had some injuries last year, Dante Demas, Jay-Sean Jones. Give us a sense of where those guys are in terms of their rehab and what you can expect from them this year.
You know, we helped both of them out of spring, and they did some limited stuff. Jay-Sean actually did a few things during spring ball, but both have participated 100% in our, we call PRPs, our player run practices this summer. The expectation, Dante's ahead of schedule, which doesn't surprise me because if you know him and the personality trait he has, he wants to get back. And there's no doubt, you know, right now, if we can get him through training camp and keep him healthy along with Jay-Sean, that we expect both those guys to be able to line up and play for us September 3rd.
Now, you talk about those player-run practices, and I know that you probably have some conversations about what goes on there. Listening to the players, who have they said has really emerged as a guy that they feel like they can count on?
Well, I mean, it starts with our quarterback. Obviously, I think there's a belief in Leah. The other area, our most improved unit on our team has been our offensive line. We've got 5 returning starters that have gotten their teeth kicked in as young pups, and now they're juniors, seniors, have a lot of game experience. There's no doubt that position group is going to play a major role in the outcome of what our season looks like.
How about the quality of life of the new building and all the things that go along with that? How have the players really embraced that?
I feel like George Jefferson, man. Moving on up, man. You know, Jones Hill House, a remarkable facility, a great investment made, obviously, my boss, Damon Evans, and Colleen Sorum, and all of our boosters that really allowed us to move into such a wonderful building. But it adds to what I talk about, that player-centric coaching that we have to do, where you have the things, you know, I say when I was raising my kids, I always wanted to have all the nice things in my house because that way Michael LaShore would come to my house and hang out. And it gave me an opportunity to keep my kids around me. So Jones Hill House affords us to where these players are always in the building, they're always around, and we get to develop some real meaningful relationships.
Coach, I've got moles all over the place listening in today. I got great sources throughout this building. I am told that you were asked who the one Big Ten player from the past that you would most like to have coached would be, and your response was Howard Griffin.
We could have had some fun.
I like to coach the fullback, man, but I don't think this version of Howard Griffin is the guy I was talking about.
This guy rides his bike like 150 miles.
I know. I don't know if he'll put his face on anybody anymore.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
In all seriousness, when you've been a part of this conference for a long time, when you think about where it's been and now where it's going, in terms of the expansion and all of the things that are happening around the Big Ten, what do you think?
It's exciting times for the Big Ten. I mean, to add two-story programs like UCLA, like USC, and I'm talking all of the sports, not just football. I mean, both those are very traditional blue blood programs. To be able to add two like-minded schools, very similar in that the strong academics, strong athletics, strong principles and values, it's right along the lines of what the Big Ten and what makes the Big Ten the best of both worlds.
Mike Locksley, pleasure to see you. We will catch up with you in camp.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Thanks, Coach. Let's see, Adetomiwa Adebawore there. Coach Fitzgerald. Oh, okay. That's what you're going to get, huh? A little photo bomb from Fitz. Adetomiwa Adebawore, Cam Mitchell, Peter Skoronski joining us here to talk a little bit about the Cats. And let's start with this, guys. We saw the highlight from Evan Hull, but let's just be honest. From where you guys were the previous year, you were here in Indy in the Big Ten championship game. This program's been in the championship game 2 of the last 4 years. Last year was not the season that you wanted. So how do you put that year in the rearview mirror and move back to where you were in 2020 and 2018 as a championship program?
Well, obviously, it was a rough year. I think it's very important to acknowledge the year so we can move forward. So you acknowledge it, you look at the problems, you solve those issues by taking it day by day, working on the little details, focusing on the little processes every day.
Cameron, what were the problems? I mean, you say we need to solve the problems. What were the problems?
After last season, we just lost the respect that we had going into it. So, we just didn't have that fight that we had when you saw us in this building a couple years ago. And I just think that was our main problem. That's our main focus going into this season, just trying to get that back.
Peter, how do you do that? How do you get it back?
I think we kind of look back at some of the great Northwestern teams and those attributes that they had. Physicality, scrappiness, intensity, discipline, and just trying to get those back. That's what made those teams great, and we're trying to emulate those teams and have another successful year.
And again, you guys are all part of that. I mean, you all played here in the Big Ten championship game. What has Fitz's message been, Peter? What has he said to you about what the program needs to do to right the ship?
I think it does go back to those core attributes. I think, he's had so much success here, and he knows what it looks like. And he's building us up to know that we can be that team again, and just trying to get back to basics, get back to doing what Northwestern football does. And I think if we can do that, we'll be in good shape.
You guys open in Dublin against Nebraska, a team that really handed it to you last year. How much motivation is that, Cameron, to kind of get off on the right foot?
Yeah, we're going to Dublin, a new place. We're going to have some fun experiences, but we're there for business, man. We all saw the game last year. And, we're going in, we're trying to be gritty. We're trying to get that back. A couple years ago, we were doing pretty well, and just going into Nebraska last year, just not ending how we wanted it to. We're going in with a lot of hunger, man. We're hungry.
Adetomiwa, how do you balance that notion of going to Ireland and having an experience unlike any that anyone's had in terms of playing internationally? How do you balance that with what Cameron's talking about, that, hey, this is a game, we got to win, we got to get the season off on the right foot, we got to avenge a defeat? What's the balancing act there?
Right, a lot's going on, but I think it's important just to focus at the task at hand. That's obviously to beat Nebraska. Obviously, it's going to be fun in Ireland. Seeing, I've never been outside the country, so for me, it's going to be a great experience. But at the end of the day, you got to get the job done, and that's obviously beat Nebraska. So.
All right, so how do you go about doing that? Like, what as you kick off and you guys report tomorrow to camp and start camp the following day? What's the first step towards rebuilding a winning program?
Just being consistent, taking every day with the mindset to get better, to look at things you have to improve on, and then going from there. Building on top of that, not going backwards, but always going forward. And I think continue to push each other and being together as a team is going to get us to where we need to be.
Peter, you are on just about every All-American team coming into this year. There's a lot of buzz that you'll be a first-round pick in the NFL draft when you choose to come out. How do you kind of put all that aside and compartmentalize it and focus on the task at hand?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to be on lists and stuff like that, but it really doesn't mean anything if you don't prove it on the field. Preseason or whatever, it doesn't matter once the season hits and you have to play. I'm just trying to focus day by day, just trying to get better every day as a player and improve my technique. I feel like if I just really lock in, day out, just try to get better, I think it'll all take care of itself in the end.
There's a lot of focus on the quarterback spot, and you guys are uniquely positioned to talk about it because you see those plays, right, straight on. You see Brendan Sullivan, Ryan Helinski, and what they've done. Interested in your perspective, particularly you, Cam, as a defensive back. I mean, you see the balls these guys are throwing. Give us a sense of where the quarterback spot is and why I assume you believe it'll be better.
And we got two guys that are competing, and that's what it's going to be, and that's what it's going to be until we get to Ireland. They're competing, and they're doing a really good job.
What stands out about each guy?
Just their confidence, both of them. Actually, like coming off of last year, they put their hard head on and they went to work, and they got a lot of confidence. They displayed it really well in the spring, and I'm excited to see the quarterback competition, honestly.
Adetomiwa, one of the areas where you guys have been so successful through the years was defense, and you had one of the elite defenses in America in 2020. And again, both you guys were a part of that. Why do you believe it fell off last year? Like, what happened here?
Well, we just have to get that, relentless mindset back. I think we got very comfortable last year, coming off a great year. And, when you're comfortable, you kind of don't remember those little details and things you have to make sure you emphasize every single day.
Like, what's a detail that might have slipped through where you kind of look back at film and you said, man, I should have done X and didn't do it?
I mean, it could be as little as, like, coming into the workout, right? Being on time, showing up early, doing your little workouts, to finish into the line during warm-ups, to, going as hard as you can for as long as you can. Our team kind of motto, Wildcat Way, every single day. So those are like the little things, people tend to forget. But we have to make sure we harp on that and continue to push forward on top of that.
Cameron, what about X and O? I mean, look, there was a change in coordinator. Mike Hankwitz retired after an unbelievable run as a defensive coordinator. You had a new coordinator in there. Was terminology challenging? Was that transition part of the issue?
I wouldn't say that was part of the issue. We're at Northwestern, a lot of smart guys. We just got to get that fight back, just like Tommy said. Like, coming off a season like that, you can't prepare the same way that you did last year. Something's got to change, and it's just a mindset thing. It's all a mindset.
Cameron, I've done some really deep digging on you. I mean, I got researchers all over the place, right, trying to get the details. I have learned that you are referred to as the juice man on the team. So I need to know why, and I need to know how that manifests itself. Why are you the juice man?
See, I have a feeling I know who told you this, but I don't know. It's just a little joke going around. I like to have a good time. I'm gonna just say that. I'm gonna keep it short. I like to have a good time.
All right. So how do you bring the juice? Hey, this is not grapefruit juice you're bringing, right?
This ain't grapefruit juice. No.
Okay. All right. So how do you bring it on a day-to-day basis? How might we see you as the juice man?
You gotta have that energy, man. Like Tommy talked about. It's about being consistent in the weight room, but it's also about being consistent in the energy. And I see myself as a leader. And when you're a leader, all eyes are on you. You got to bring that same intensity, that same energy every day, that same juice every day.
All right, so he just went Tommy. Can I call you Tommy?
I prefer Adetomiwa.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I thought I'd been let
No, you're good. You're good.
Because I worked on it. I want you to know I worked on it
I appreciate that.
for quite some time.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Adetomiwa. See, that was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
How do you see each one of these guys as leaders? How do you see Cam as a leader? How do you see Peter as a leader?
Just competitors. I mean, they compete every single day. They want to win. They win, right? They finish through, and they just keep pushing everybody else to get to their standard, to get to their level. So that's one thing I see in both these guys every day.
Yeah, interesting. I want to, one of the things that kind of is the characteristic of programs that get better is guys emerge.
Right.
And it's someone you didn't know about that all of a sudden becomes a star. I mean, look, Evan Holt did it last year, right? I mean, Evan Holt was a little bit of certainly to outsiders, was a bit of an afterthought coming into the year. I would say you did it last year as well, right? Really emerged, becoming one of the leaders of that defensive line. So who are those guys? Like, Peter, tell me someone who you're around, maybe it's in your position group, who you think could emerge this year and become one of the players we're talking about.
I mean, I can name a few names. I would say on the offensive line is Ethan Wiedeker, who was a really solid tackle for us at right tackle last year. Played really well the whole season, played well his junior year too. But he's been really solid. And then I'd say Malik Washington, a wide receiver. People are not talking about him enough. He was a dynamic playmaker for us last year, and he'll be even better this year. I believe in that, and it's a name to know for sure.
Cameron?
I won't name anybody specifically. I was just going to say we got a lot of competitive depth on the defense this year. We got a lot of young guys that, if need be, will come in and really help the team win. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do when they get their opportunity.
Adetomiwa?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the competition we're going to have in camp. A lot of guys have a lot of opportunities to, step up for us, and I think they will. So I'm really excited to see it.
I like to ask players this when they come up here. How do you define success for your team? At the end of the year, at January 15th, if I say this was a successful year, what would it have to look like?
Winning the Big Ten. That's simple. Winning the Big Ten, and not ever giving up throughout the process. Going like I said, Fitz talks about the Wildcat way: go as hard as you can for as long as you can. And if we do those two things, I'll call it a success.
Cameron?
I agree, man. 2 years ago we were back in this building, and I felt like we could have won that game, honestly. So to be a success, it would have to end right here.
Peter?
I'd say echo everything they said, and then on a micro level, just knowing you've done your job as a player, I think that's success. And when you do that, stuff like the Big Ten Championship will take care of itself.
Peter, Cameron, Adetomiwa, thanks so much, guys.
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Thank
to meet
you.
all three of you. Let's start here. You were a college football playoff team last year. You ended a 16-year Big Ten title drought. How has all of that success from last year benefited your program here as you move forward into this year?
Since the last game we played, really was within days. Our team was back and attacking it. They attack everything that's put in front of them. The other cool thing is there's zero entitlement and none on the foreseeable future. So, life is good, and we're good. We're getting better every day.
Two new coordinators. The offensive guys were on your staff last year, and so there's great familiarity there. Tell us a little bit about Jesse Minter. You were talking about him on the podium, and you said that he was someone who you had considered when you hired Mike McDonald. So someone you're already familiar with, but what does Jesse Minter bring, and how will the defense maybe have a little bit of a different feel?
That's a true story. When my brother John recommended Mike McDonald, he also recommended Jesse Minter at the same time. And he said, I got one guy's in the secondary, one guy's a linebacker. Coach, really take your pick. They're both great. And I really kind of talked to Mike first and kind of went down the road with him. And then when John wanted Mike McDonald to come back to the Ravens to coordinate their defense, Jesse Minter was what I felt would be a really great transition. Because Jesse, John, Harbaugh, Mike McDonald, Don Martindale, they all really put that defense in together about 4 or 5 years ago. And then the added bonus with Jesse Minter is he's coordinated. He's called defenses. Last year he was a defensive coordinator at Vanderbilt.
Coach, we lost a great friend and a great coach in Gary Moeller.
We did.
What do you remember the most about Mo?
Great man. His son Andy and I were teammates, so we grew up, and we also grew up on the Michigan staff as coaches' kids in Ann Arbor. And my dad will tell you the same thing. Great man. Kind of funny one. My dad admitted to this, that, hey, we're in a pear tree right now, which is kind of akin to who's got it better than us. We're in a pear tree. And I always thought that was something that my dad came up with or coined. But he admitted a couple weeks ago that was Gary Moeller. Gary Moeller invented that. And some people would say, I see Howard looking at, what's a pear tree, I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly, but
partridge in the pear
it's
tree,
good.
Right there, yeah. The
Like a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah.
Hey, we're in a pear tree here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Gary Moeller was he's just great man. And I would say that, geez, guys like Jack Harbaugh, Gary Moeller, America's not making great men like that near as much as they used to. It's time for guys like us to step up.
They could talk ball forever.
Right.
Your dad and Gary Moeller could talk ball forever. It never stopped.
Lived it, loved it.
Coach, one of the things that having an opportunity to talk to several of your players last year, we guys were on the run. they talked just about how much belief they had in the staff and in one another. And that really started during the off-season workout program and continued to build. Have you seen some of those same character traits in your team, although this team has not actually hit the field yet as far as going into competition?
Yeah, and then I'd say, and then some. Because there's so many of the guys that were on the team last year, and now they're they're continuing on the team. And we had this great group of seniors last year that were leaders, and we had this great group of freshmen that came in. I mean, Donovan Edwards pops in my mind right now. Just Andrell Anthony, J.J. McCarthy, Junior Colson, Rod Moore, just great guys, and they lived it. So many others on our team experienced it, and then the fact that they saw the way Aiden took care of his business, Hassan Hassan took care of his business, David Ajabo, and if you're smart and you're using your noodle, why don't I do it like that? Why don't I just do it like they did it, and maybe we'll have the same results? But all that being said, Howard, I would say that the team is further along right now in terms of that same belief, that same lack of entitlement. Just about taking care of business. Much further along than they were last year at this time, and I'd say even further along than we were at the end of the last season. Our players have just continued. It's been a tremendous offseason.
You talked about the new coordinators. How do you manage your time to make sure that they continue to do perhaps what you like they were doing last year? I mean, do you get involved with the offense and the defense as a head coach? How do you manage your time?
Yeah, it's a good thing about being the head coach. You get to coach all the positions anytime you want.
Go to the side of the ball that's doing the best.
I love this. I spend most of my time on the offense. I do, Jerry. And both Sharon Moore, Matt Weiss were on the staff last year. Matt Weiss, I mean, it's like if we were going to do a project and do a job, I mean, he would be the one, the smart guy who's thinking it out, measuring all the angles, detailing everything to the nth degree. I mean, he's gonna measure twice, cut once. I'm like, I haven't met a play I don't like. Damn the torpedoes. Our players are good enough to execute this. Whoa, let's go. And then he and I are like the perfect. We balance each other off just perfectly. And then there's Sharon Moore is the living embodiment of that Jim Harbaugh, Matt Weiss person in a person named Sharon Moore. And he coaches our offensive line, which is the most important position to be coaching on the offensive side of the ball. Does a tremendous job. Both Sharon and Matt are going to call the plays, and then Mike Hart does a tremendous job with our blitzes and our run game. Ron Bellamy is another Matt Weiss. He's so detailed and contributes in the passing game and the coaching of the receivers. And we got a great young coach in Grant Newsome, tremendous. So we got a really good offensive staff that I'm so excited about. Some great analysts as well. We all work super good together. And it's like a bunch of brothers with their arms, locked hand in hand, arm in arm, facing whatever comes at us. And our players see it. I mean, they sense it. They can tell how, what a solid, unified front we are.
I think one of the things that jumped out to me when watching your teams last year is the way you control the line of scrimmage. And your quarterback, McNamara, did not have to do as much, was not asked to do as much. And I think sometimes people looked at him as maybe just being a manager because you guys were able to have so much success. But he can win games for you with his arm, right?
Yeah, he sure can. He threw for over 2,600 yards last season. Way over 2-to-1 touchdowns to interceptions. Here's the stat, and it really just comes down to this. I mean, how many drives are you leading as a quarterback that are ending in points? Touchdowns and points on the board. Over 50% of Cade McNamara's drives end in points. I didn't do this. It doesn't jump to my mind what J.J. McCarthy's was, but just felt like every time J.J. got in the game and led a drive, it ended up in the end zone as well. I mean, long story short, Cade McNamara is going to be really tough to beat out of that starting quarterback job. And J.J. McCarthy is also going to be really, really hard to beat J.J. out for the starting quarterback job. But it'll all go down starting August 3rd. We'll find out.
So given they're both going to be tough to beat out, I mean, might we still see some sort of mixture as we did last year? I mean, clearly Cade was your guy and was your starter, but do you envision because you have two such good quarterbacks that there might be more of that bouncing out?
That's sure within the realm of possibility, right? I mean, there's only three ways this can go.
Right.
Either Cade's the starter and JJ's the backup, or JJ's the starter, Cade's the backup, or they both play like they did last year.
I want to ask you a real quick question about that. How are you guys able to manage it from a coach's standpoint? You know, both guys want to get out there and play. You're listening you hear the crowd. Everybody loves the backup quarterback to get in there. More excitement, maybe. But how do you guys coach that to make sure you get the very best out of each one of those players? And in talking to the players and talking, to both quarterbacks as well, they were excited about what they had an opportunity to do for your team.
Yeah. It started with those two guys, right? I mean, when it's competitive, that's okay, but combative's not okay. It doesn't help your team. Competitive, non-combative is great for the team. And you could see every time JJ ran in, it gave the team a lift. When Cade came in, gave the team a lift. It was really good. So I think, does that answer the question?
Yeah.
I hope it does.
So really, you've got two players that understand what their assignment is, and it really helps the process for you coaches to be able to call the game the way
coaching-wise, we were preparing both of them to be the starter each and every week. But we were also preparing, like, hey, JJ's really good at this, or Cade's really good at this. Yeah. Here's where we can fit that in during the game plan, and let's go ahead and work it in. And guys knew it was coming because we had just practiced it as well. But most of the time when you have this kind of situation, like who's going to be the starter, we're talking about this because there isn't either guy that can, is the most of the time, right? In a quarterback controversy. So this is totally uncharted waters. It's both of them are so good that, who's going to win the starting quarterback job? We'll see. Whoever plays the best.
How'd you come up with your tour around the state with your team?
It's going so good. It's another thing that's just getting better every day. There's four real wins to me when you do this. I mean, there's the education piece. There is the servant leader piece because we're giving them tons of opportunity to do that. And hey, just learn. It's not always about yourself. You can get there's a lot of satisfaction in giving, and the team bonding element, and also just the fun element. And right before camp, the way it's set up right now, kind of clear your mind, reduce some of the stress, not sitting around your dorm room thinking about the start of training camp.
Counting reps.
Yeah.
How many reps am I going to get?
I have 3 days left now I have 1 day. Now I have 6 hours till I have to report. We're just all crescendoing. Yeah. This is really, it's been great. 5 really good things.
Coach, is anybody still sitting in dorms? Apartments, high-rise hotels?
Here's another Jack Harbaugh statement right here. Every man in America should spend 2 weeks in a dorm room during football training camp.
No air.
No air. A fan.
No air.
A fan. One pillow.
Oh, boy, those were the days.
Speaking of frustrating days, Coach, your daughter Grace shared some great TikToks of you on the family vacation.
She sure did.
Judging from the scenery and the cuisine, I think it was Italy. Was it Italy?
Yeah, Sicily.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, this is how did you not bring Donardo? Well, I know why. I've been around him long enough to know that.
That's the first dumb question in 15 years.
What were the highlights of that trip? Tell us about, other than how long were you in the airport? I mean, it really looked like it was miserable, frankly.
It was about 11 hours in the Rome airport because the Boston flight got delayed. Something about the catering. They told us something about that, and by the time we got to Rome. Anyway, it was great just being with the family. 10 family members for 12 days, not getting pulled in any other direction, just seeing the kids wake up, going to sleep in the middle of the day, just what they say, all those things. And my mom getting to go to my grandfather's hometown, get to see his birth certificate and her aunt's birth certificate, St. Agata in Sicily. She had never been, so very emotional for her. And probably the best part, though, is 10 family members, no fights. Some spirited discussion.
There's a fine line
between no fight.
Spirited discussions. You're the only 12
Especially in an Italian family, right?
I was going to say you're the only 12 people in Italy that weren't fighting. Any good recipes? You bring anything back?
It was really good. It was
But
really,
you didn't bring anything back.
No, I'm not a cook.
Come on.
I'm not a cook. Sorry, Jared.
He doesn't have time for that. He was reading the biography of Fielding Yost while he was over there. Right? What's the best Fielding Yost fact you learned from that book?
That he was in the like the oil and mineral business. I didn't know that he had a separate job as a lawyer and a entrepreneur in oil and he only spent the season. He would only spend August to the last game of the season in Ann Arbor till he built a big house in Ann Arbor. But yeah, it was cool. Grace, of course, put that on our TikTok. It took me like 3 of those TikTok videos till I finally go, what are you doing? What are you doing with that phone, Grace? Are you tracking me? Are you tracking me? Yeah, I'm tracking you. And there's these videos out here. You know, so.
And there you go.
Yeah. So
you were on your best behavior, so you were good.
It's incredible being around the young people because you walk past.
You never know.
They're dancing around. Right? You're just in the house and they're dancing.
Taking selfies.
Like you have no idea what's going on. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh, head coach of the Wolverines. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Thanks to see you. Good to see you, Coach. That was the last time the Michigan Wolverines were in this building as they beat Iowa for the Big Ten championship. First time since 2004 that Michigan had brought home the title, ending the longest drought in school history. Bring back a fair amount from that team, 62% of the production back. Some changes, including new offensive coordinators, although 2 guys are on the staff, and Matt Weiss and Sharon Moore. Jesse Minter hired as the defensive coordinator, as we discussed with Coach Jim Harbaugh. And pleased to have 3 of the Wolverines here with me now: Erick, Cade McNamara, and Mazi Smith. Guys, let's dive right into it. And this is my 16th year of doing this here on the Big Ten Network. And so we've had Michigan student athletes before every season, and virtually every single one of them has had to answer some variation of the question, what's it going to take to get past Ohio State? How does it feel to be the group that does not have to answer that question, Erick?
Feels great.
Yeah?
Feels absolutely great.
All right. Can you elaborate on that? When you think about what you guys accomplished, not just beating them last year, but winning the Big Ten and making it to the college football playoff, when there were so many doubters around your program, what does that do for you?
I mean, everyone just worked hard and invested into each other. We tried to, eliminate all mistakes we would make, all like huge mistakes we would make when it comes to, run blocking, running the ball, route running. We just worked on ourselves, and we really didn't pay attention to the outside noise. We made sure that, we did everything that we felt like that was perfect, and we went into every game knowing that we had beat our opponent, and it came out huge for us.
Cade, what was your best memory from last year aside from beating Ohio State?
I mean, there's a couple great moments. I think the Nebraska one sticks out to me. I think, even though the Wisconsin game was really tight and that was our first, really for the majority of our team, their first away game with fans, for me, Nebraska was a game that we had finally faced some adversity. I think, in the past that, we've struggled a little bit when it comes to rallying back from adversity and staying in the game as far as that. But for us, when we came out on top of that game, it was huge for us and huge for our program. And I think, that was when I first said that I think this team is different. And I think, really it's for that reason why that we were able to handle that level of adversity. And it really showed as we were put in really more difficult situations throughout the rest of the season.
Mazi, how about for you? Is there a moment that sticks out?
I think the Iowa game was big, the Big Ten championship. They had a really good center over there for me. So for me personally, it was just, it felt really good being able to play against some of the best competition that I would see all year. And if we want to talk about a game specifically, like a whole game, I think the Georgia game, I know it didn't go how we wanted it to go, but on a personal note, a lot of people coming out of high school, a lot of people thought, SEC, he built like an SEC D lineman, you know what I'm saying? Part of the reason I came to Michigan was because it was at home. And I wanted to bring wherever I wanted to bring exactly what I wanted at other schools to my own school, to my house, to my backyard, and being able to go out there and play a team that I got recruited by
in the SEC, it was a big deal.
Erick, where does your touchdown against Penn State stand in terms of your best memories from last year? I mean, that was a big-time play and a huge moment.
Oh man, it was that was crazy. I mean, going into that play, I knew it was going to be open, and I knew that based on because they were playing man coverage, and I knew Mikey is a real great. He does that like almost all the time when we do like pick routes and stuff. He gets the job done every time, and that was just a crazy memory. It's definitely gonna last forever, and people always bring it up. So it's crazy. It's insane.
So a huge moment, no doubt. How do you compare that to beating Ohio State? I mean, you're an Ohio native, so if you like stack those moments up against one another,
beating Ohio State, of course, that's not even close.
Okay,
So, that's not even close.
That was your biggest moment, unquestionably, from last year.
No, unquestionably.
What has that meant to you in the days and weeks since, as an Ohio guy?
It's always in the back of my head, but you gotta forget about it. It's a different team this year. You gotta go out there this year, do the same thing. I mean, it's hard. It's hard though, but it's definitely you gotta kind of like forget about it.
Mazi, you mentioned the Georgia game and that it didn't go the way that you guys wanted it to. What's the key to getting back into a situation like that this year and having it go differently, advancing in the college football playoff?
I think that first off, last year we took it day by day, step by step, one foot in front of the other, game by game. I think we got to do that all over again, and I think an important thing to be able to make a game like that go differently is you've been there before, you've experienced it. It ain't your first time, in the college football playoff. So we get there again, we done been there before.
Cade, after that college football playoff, there was really some uncertainty surrounding Coach Harbaugh and whether or not he would make a jump to the NFL. How did that limbo time impact you guys in terms of kind of not knowing whether he'd be back or not?
Well, I don't think it affected our team very much. I think Coach Harbaugh was very open and he communicated about the situation to us. And, we love Coach Harbaugh and we fully support him, and we couldn't be happier that he's back.
Yeah, what does it mean to this program, Erick, to have him back and to know, hey, he's fully committed?
It means everything. He's the head coach. I mean, he loves everybody. He's real. He's a great coach. I love him as a coach, and I couldn't imagine having anybody else as a head coach, and that really would have crushed me. But if he would have left, but thank God he stayed. And me personally, had never had a doubt that he was leaving, because knowing Coach Harbaugh, it's Michigan all the way, and it just wouldn't have felt right without him there. So,
Mazi, your defense was fabulous last year. You took a huge step forward under Mike McDonald. Now Jesse Minter takes over, and of course you lose some big-time guys up front. I mean, David Ojabo, Aiden Hutchinson were absolute studs for you guys. How will this defense look different, personnel-wise, schematically-wise, from a year ago?
It more so looked the same. Coach Minter has a similar background as Coach Mack, and bringing in a similar scheme. As for the guys that we lost, we got guys who kind of saw those guys and took pieces of those guys who want to be the best that they can be too. And I think they all will.
Who are some of those players who could step forward? I mentioned the two defensive ends you lost. You lost Christopher Hinton up front as well. Who are the players who have stood out to you, your fellow D linemen?
Chris Jenkins, of course. He really been putting in that work. We had a lot of talks about what he could do, how he could do it, and how important it was for him to do it this year. He could really put it all together. Then we got Mike Morris, Taylor Upshaw, Jalen Harrell, Braden McGregor. Those are all guys who would be high caliber in any program in the country. So they can really get after it. And I really don't see much of a drop-off.
Cade, one of the things that's been very interesting is the way that you and J.J. McCarthy split time last year. Obviously, you were the starter and you were the guy in crunch time, but he got some reps in there. Coach Harbaugh really praised the way that you guys handled it, that you were competitive with one another, but that you also worked in conjunction with one another. And yet, on the podium, he said today, hey, there's a battle, and it's going to be tough to unseat Cade as starting quarterback. It's going to be tough to unseat JJ. How do you deal with a little bit of uncertainty at your spot?
I mean, I think, I think I'm only growing through competition. I said a little earlier that I think I am getting better faster if I were to be sitting in the quarterback room comfortably. But, I think what it comes down to is, as far as my mental mindset, the only thing I care about is making sure the team wins. And, as a competitor, I don't think there's any other mindset that you should be confident in yourself that you're going to help the team do that. And I'm just going to do everything I can to keep getting better and to do everything that I can to help this team win.
You participated in a really cool NIL opportunity, a docu-series about your life called The Leader, and then you had a Q&A, I know, live with fans. Tell us how that came about and how it went.
Yeah, so they came to me about the opportunity, and I saw it as, really a great opportunity for myself, not just to, share a little bit myself, but also to connect with the fan base. I feel like sometimes I come across as, maybe a really serious guy, and maybe not. People don't know a ton about me from a personal standpoint. So I think, as far as like guests that we have on, or just simply me being able to share a little bit more about myself, I thought it was a great, opportunity, and the people at Revel Moments have done a great job with me, and I appreciate them.
Mazi, you had an amazing opportunity as well. You were part of the Big Life Series trip that went down to Alabama just a couple of weeks ago. Was talking about with Commissioner Warren earlier, and we saw some excerpts of what looked like a transformative weekend. In what ways did that impact you?
It was empowering to realize that we have a platform. I know, we always talk about, like, we have a platform, but, like, as a Big Ten and other conferences were there, we went down and empowered a certain place, a historical place. A historical place for people that look like me. One of the big things that we talked about down there was letting the children and the youth there know that they could get to the same place that I'm at, that he's at, that Erick's at. Just to give them hope, give that community hope. It was a learning experience too, but we plan on making that a habit. Go back and uplifting Selma and making sure that we bring them along.
You said it was a learning experience. What was the biggest thing you learned?
I kind of came up, my mother taught me a lot of this stuff, so I spent more time watching everybody else learn, and just watching everybody else react to the atrocities that were committed in this country. But we also had a conversation, about that and how to move forward and what needs to happen, what needs to take place. Because it wasn't just black student athletes down there. It was athletes of all race down there contributing. And they all care about inclusion. They all care about diversity, and it's just a stepping stone. It's just a start. But hopefully it'll take us a long way.
Strong statement. I want to bring it back to football at the end. I asked this of every set of players who's up here. I'll ask it of the three of you. How do you define success for Michigan football this year?
I define it by being the team that's more disciplined than the others. I feel like the team that makes the less mistakes out there on the field will win the game. And if we're that team that's more disciplined than the teams that we play, then I feel like we'll be very successful and we won't have nothing to worry about. Of course, there's going to be adversity, and when we see that and when we experience that, we're going to overcome it, and execute.
Cade?
I think this team, we need to win again. We need to show that last year was not a fluke. We need to. What we need to do better than what we did last season was we definitely need to beat Michigan State. We need to win every game of the regular season without a doubt. I think that would be a huge stepping stone as far as to how can one team 143 be better than team 142. Last year, team 142 didn't get that job done, so now it's team 143's job to do that this season. And really, to add on to Erick, we need to continue to help Michigan football keep this winning mentality and this atmosphere that we have as a foundation for the guys to come after us.
Erick, Cade, Mazi, really a pleasure to visit with all three of you. Thanks so much. Best of luck this year.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
Coach, you were the West champs last year. You achieved your highest ranking since the mid-1980s during the course of the season. I know it did not end exactly as you wanted it to, but what was the highlight from what was indisputably a really good year for the Hawkeyes?
To me, it's just how our team handled the challenges that came up, and certainly got off to a good start. We were probably a little loftier in the rankings than we deserved when we were 6-0. And then had two hard weeks, and actually three because we had a bye week in between, which couldn't come at a worse time. Josh could tell you that. So just the way the guys fought through that, and nothing came easy after that. We were able to win 4 games down the stretch, but each and every one of them came hard. Just proud of the way the guys persevered.
I hinted at this a moment ago as we were heading to break, but you've signed a new contract extension, which will keep you in Iowa City through 2029.
Does that mean they're going to kick me out after that, or what?
Through at least 2029, yes. But at that point, you will have been there more than 30 years as a head coach, and that doesn't even include your time as an assistant, which you alluded to on the podium earlier. I get asked this question a lot, and I'm sure you do too. I mean, we've been doing this for a long time. What keeps you energized as you embark on a new season and as you think about being in this job at least through 2029?
So you're talking about 2029. I'm trying to make it to August 29th right now. I'll be happy with that. Maybe July 29th. But I think the thing about it, the players haven't changed. A lot of things are changing, but the players haven't changed. The game hasn't changed. People you get to work with, just phenomenal. And, the thing that's interesting is the world does change, and a lot of things come at you, a lot of things to consider, and we certainly have a record amount right now. But to me, it's a little bit stimulating, and, you're always learning. So, until you quit getting anxious, until you quit getting nervous and quit getting excited, I don't know why I'd stop. And, my wife gave me a hall pass after the pandemic. She said to keep going for a while. So I think we had a little too much togetherness time.
Coach, you're extending the conversation. Revson started that you're old. A lot has changed, but what do you still enjoy? Maybe you already answered this. What do you still enjoy that hasn't changed?
I want to clarify. I put it more subtly than Jerry
Much better,
did.
yeah.
Kirk.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that, too, by the way.
Yes.
So, I'll go back to the first day. Our guys got back in June, and they're down in the weight room and going out in the field training. I still enjoy that, going in the weight room, watching the guys work, trying to make that part of the routine. Just the interactions, sitting down, having a meal with them in the lunchroom, or, doing different activities with the guys. It's all about the people, and that was what was good about Iowa in '81 when I got there, and it's still good now.
Kind of switching over to football things, you talked about your quarterbacks when you were up at the podium, Padilla and Petrus, and as they head into training camp, there's going to be a battle there. What do you need to see out of either one of them to feel confident that this offense is going to take the next step this year?
Yeah, I think we had some challenges last year. There's no question about that. And to me, it was a collective thing. I go back and look at the film. Execution obviously is the name of the game, but there are a lot of plays I consider that were makeable that we weren't making, and multitude of reasons. We were really young up front, young at the receiver position, and probably didn't run the ball as well as we'd like, certainly, and that equates to what I was just talking about. So I look at offense as a team thing. But the bottom line is I like both our quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I think they both have done good things since we've been here. I'm really excited. I think they're both going to take a jump here in August. I really believe that's going to happen. Time will tell. I think we'll be a better, more mature team offensively. So that's going to help them look better as playmakers. But Spencer's done a lot of good things for us, and I can't say enough about Alex coming in tough circumstances. And, we won with him, and that's a big part of that was his performance, playing smart and giving us a chance. So I think they're both high-quality guys, and I'm glad they're both on our team.
Let's go to the other side of the ball. This looks like it could be one of your best defenses that you've had. Can you compare it to some of the best ones that you've had?
Yeah, we'll worry. There's good and bad there. It's we're veteran at the linebacker position, pretty veteran up front, which we weren't a year ago. And then the back end, we've got some really good players, but we lost some really good guys. You think about Matt Hankins, Jack Kerner, you think about Dane Belton, 3 really outstanding players. But, Riley Moss chose to come back, and sometimes you worry, is he going to be fully in? This guy is just working like a fiend and just so positive. Jack Campbell, go right down the line. So I feel good about our group, Jerry, and you still got to do it on the field, as you know, and that starts in practice. But I like our guys. The leadership looks to be strong, and, it all starts there, just guys with good attitudes.
Yeah, you mentioned Jack Campbell, and that's a guy that gets me excited, talking about a bigger linebacker, 143 tackles last year, which is just an outrageous number, but he's a guy who is effective not only in the run game but in defending the pass as well. What's it like having a really strong player kind of in the middle of your defense to be a leader for the rest of the guys?
So I've only coached at Iowa, so I'm not used to like 6'4" linebackers. You know, I never coached at Ohio State, but so. You know, I can't say enough about Jack. Obviously, his production speaks for itself. He made a play 2 years ago against Wisconsin down in our end zone, which to me that was like a football player play action, came back, got an interception. And that one to me was just – and we had the good fortune of watching Jack grow up 10th grade on. And the thing that stands out to me is just his humility and his work ethic. And he's all about the team. And it almost seems kind of corny, like it's made up, but it's not. That's who he is. That's how he lives. And so he's just – he's a guy who really has a tremendous impact in his own way to our team. He's not outspoken or boisterous, but he impacts everybody on our team, not just the defensive guys.
Kirk, you've always been known for great offensive lines, and of course, he had one of the best linemen in the country last year in Tyler Linderbaum. But aside from that, it wasn't a great line. I mean, this was not one of your better groups. What leads you to believe that this one could be better this year?
Well, you know, we had 3 veteran players coming back a year ago, Tyler obviously being one. Then 2 other guys, Cody Ince and Kyle Schott, both had injury issues all season long. So basically, you know, we didn't have them, at least it wasn't until later in the year where Kyle started playing at a high level. So that made us a really young group, and we played that way. I thought they made more progress during the course of the season. I was seeing it in practice, and I think that started to show in November. And I think in the bowl game, that was probably our best performance. So I'm optimistic. We have guys that are of age now. Certainly a huge void with Tyler not being here anymore. But really like our group. I like the way they go about their work, and George Barnett's done a great job bringing those guys along.
Coach, with all the changes, is there a consensus among coaches, whether it's the Big Ten coaches around the country, on some rules that you'd like to see put in place? I know we talk about this every year, and I think you get frustrated sometimes that you don't have more to say. But are the coaches in consensus with something they'd like to change?
I'm not sure. I just kind of know what I read. I don't talk to a lot of folks, but I think anybody that's thinking about what's good for the entire game, you know, we have to be concerned. I think that's one of the strengths of the NFL. And they you know, it's a different level, different league, all that, but it's a great sports league. And I think it goes back to the history of the league, the decisions they made as the league grew. The owners were smart enough to get together when they were smaller groups, whatever it was, 8, 10, and did what was best for the league. Now, you know, they got 32 owners, and I think they all share that sense of, you know, it's better to have a salary cap than not have a salary cap like Major League Baseball. So just illustrations like that. I'm hoping that we can come together and just agree on some structure framework that would make this game, allow it to continue to be such a great game that it is. So I'm hopeful that happens. I'm not sure how it's going to happen or who's going to lead the charge, but hopefully in the years ahead that happens.
Do you think if each conference took over their own football programs and just let the Big Ten run, like you grew up in the East, the Ivy League played 9 games, no spring practice, no scholarships. They didn't care what anyone else. They didn't care what anyone else thought. So if the Big Ten decided, here's our rules, here's what we just in football, and let the NCAA run all the other sports.
I'd be all for it. I think it's really nice to walk on a field knowing that all the teams involved have done things the same way on a lot of levels. So I'd be all for that. Bigger picture, I'd love to see college football come together, and because we have the greatest game going. It's the greatest game, and just don't want to see it go off the rails.
Coach, I want to get a window into the mentality of your team as you head into training camp. You go out last year, you win the Big Ten West. You know that you have the wherewithal to be able to make big plays and to win big games, but at the same time, last year does not guarantee success this year. So how do you balance leaning on that experience with also keeping up the motivation?
Yeah, that messaging really starts in January. We say it every year. This is a whole new season, calendar year, whole new team. And, you know, we certainly have good players back from a year ago, and that's great. But it's a whole new team. Who knows what the circumstances, challenges are going to be down the road. So it just gets down to our day-to-day work and the approach that we take. And the one thing I do feel good about with this team is we have a good core of older guys, not just seniors, but guys that have played and been on the field that know what to do, but they also model what to do in a really powerful way to our younger guys. And then you hope that guys are going to come along and develop. And they typically do, and that's the beauty of college football. I think that's why it's so exciting for all of us involved.
Speaking of players developing, you lost Tyler Goodson, who was a really good back for you. Give us a sense of the running back spot.
Well, so we knew that, and I appreciate Taulia came in early after the championship game, I believe, that next week, and just let me know what his thoughts are. And it's kind of like the transfer topic. You know, I don't think anybody wants anybody on the team that doesn't want to be there. Why, that's not healthy for anybody. So Taulia made a decision to move on, to turn to the NFL, and I appreciate that and applaud the fact that he told me early. So going into the game, we had a chance to focus on Gavin and LeSean. We were impressed with both those guys during the course of the year. Yeah, and they did a great job, I thought, in the month of December, played well in the bowl game, and I think both those guys are going to be really good players. We don't have a lot of depth behind them. That's an area right now that we're obviously really curious about and see how that develops. But they're two tremendous young people. Gavin's like a 36-year-old guy. This guy is so mature and just so he's a really good player, but he's just such a he's got a real presence and a presence about him that's really impressive.
Kirk Ferentz, always a pleasure. Great to pick your brain on the state of college football as well, and glad to have you, the Dean of College Football Coaches, Kirk Ferentz.
Appreciate your work, guys. Thanks.
All right. You see the Gophers, Tanner Morgan, Tyler Nubin, John Michael Schmitz joining me. Fellas, let's look back before we look forward. What a year it was for you guys. Again, 9 wins, winning a bowl game, all of those positive things that are going on around Gopher football. What's the best memory for you, Tanner?
Man, I think for us, the way that we finished the season, and we had a lot of guys who had been together for a really long time. Winning the Axe against Wisconsin, and then finishing it off strong in a bowl game, and then being able to send those guys off with great memories the last 2 weeks of the season. But we fought through a lot of adversity together, continued to row through all of it, and just the way we finished was something that I will never forget.
Tyler?
Definitely that Axe game. I think that was one of the craziest games I've ever been a part of. Down to the atmosphere, the crowd. The way we won it at the end. That was probably one of my best football memories ever.
John Michael, how about for you?
Yeah, by far, just how the season ended, and getting to experience a field storm and just a celebration after that Axe victory, and just knowing what we accomplished that season is something special.
Tanner used the phrase "keep rowing," and of course everyone's familiar with row the boat.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is a PJ Fleckism. It's a program that is full of PJ Fleckisms. So what's your favorite? What's the best Fleckism?
I think it's all our culture, right? So it's what we do, it's who we are, and I think one that really embodies it is either break the boring, which is every day not getting bored with the little details, or change your best. And what you did yesterday is not good enough now, or whether it's good or bad, you got to find a way to change your best. And that's an everyday continual thing, and it's all about the process, which in turn gives you the best chance to have success down the road with the result. But those two I think really hit home with me.
How about for you, Tyler? Which ones resonate with you?
One that resonates with me that I try to carry with me every day is how you do one thing is how you do everything. We believe in this program that, if you want to be elite in all areas of your life, you have to be elite in all areas of your life. You can't have a drop-off, whether that's athletically, academically, socially, spiritually. If you want to be a full, all-around person, you have to be able to excel in all areas of your life.
John Michael, how about for you?
Yeah, one thing that I love about the culture is change your best. And basically it's yesterday was not good enough. You got to create your new best today, and that's what I would say. Just change your best each and every day.
But Tanner, you were at your best when Kirk Ferentz was your offensive coordinator. He is back now.
Yeah.
What does his return mean for you and for this program?
Yeah, it's awesome to have him back leading the charge of our offense, and he's going to coach our guys really hard and put us in chances, to be successful every day. But it's awesome because, we're learning a lot, finding ways to be successful every day. And again, it's not, just going to happen overall. It happens over a long process, and, he coaches our guys really hard, coaches the coaches well. And I think, we got a long way to go in training camp, but really excited to continue to learn from him and continue to be coached by him every day.
Tanner, you came back for a 6th year. I know, John Michael, you did as well. I mean, a 6th year, right? That was unimaginable when you guys started on this journey. What swayed you? What made you say, this is what I'm going to do? Because you're one of the elite players at your position nationally. You certainly have a chance to play at the next level. What brought you back?
Just the people that I came in with. Talking about Tanner, Mo, and Chris Bell. Coach Fleck likes to call it the Encore 4 that came back. I had the decision. Everyone else decided that they were going to come back. And I had the decision late in December if I was going to choose to stay or choose to leave. And I am very happy with my decision of staying so far. And I am excited about this 2022 season. And the reason why I also came back is because I wanted to leave this program with the vision we had when we first got here, and that's with a championship. So,
yeah. Tanner, I know you got married.
Yeah,
this
I
offseason.
I did.
So congratulations to you,
much.
first of all.
Thank you.
You're early on in this
Yeah.
in this journey, but how would you describe married life?
I love it. It's awesome. I get to come home and see my wife, and she's the best. She's got a great heart and loves other people really well. So it's been really fun, living together and just being able to do life together. I'm 2.5 weeks into it, so I might be a vet. I might be an expert, but I love it. It's awesome, and it's really a joy each and every day to get to see her.
Yeah, I found day 16 was when I really started
16?
to hit my stride in marriage. Yeah, so you're just right there.
Yeah,
pretty good. Now, John Michael just got engaged, right, in the offseason. In fact, the engagement photo is great because you're in a boot. And there's nothing more offensive lineman, right, than being down on one knee in a boot. But do you have advice for John Michael as he?
Yeah, I think he's on a great path. Him and Daniela, they're doing a great job so far. Just, not really much advice I could give him, but, helped him out with picking out the ring. So I think he did an elite job with that decision.
Tyler, let's talk about this defense. Speaking of elite, you guys were top 10 in the nation last year in total defense and scoring defense. I'm not sure a lot of people saw that coming. There were some struggles defensively in 2020. And 2020 was a weird year, and I understand it's easy to kind of just look at that as an anomaly. But how did this defense make the kind of jump that it did a year ago?
Paying attention to the details. That's something that we focus on the defensive side every single day, and we focus on out-preparing our opponent every single week, whether we have a bye week or we have a quick turnaround from a week before that. We're always going to look to out-prepare the opponent. So that's what we did really all last year, and really focus on all the details, the minute little details of our defense. And we had a group of guys that were really invested and really dedicated, and understood the things that it took to be an elite defense, and we did that every day.
A lot of newcomers on this defense this year. Who are some of the names maybe that people don't know that they will know come a few weeks into this season?
There's a lot of names, man, especially on that front seven. Like Austin Booker, he's going to be a dog. Jalen Logan Redding, he's going to be a dog on that front seven. Devin Williams, another young guy that's coming up, looking great. Flip, Michael Dixon at the nickel spot. We just got a lot of new young guys that are coming in ready to play, that have been, waiting their turn and, putting the work in.
John Michael, you're the only returning starter on the offensive line. That was a dominant group last year. It was amazing to see one running back would go down, the next one would come in and put together a great game, and then that guy would go down. It was sad in a lot of ways that you guys lost so many guys to injuries, but the one constant was that O-line opening gaping holes. And so now, as the veteran and really the lone returning guy from what was a fantastic group, give us a sense of how that group has gelled together here and what we should expect.
Yeah, you talk about a group in 2019, 2020, and 2021, play together, all those career snaps together, and just with the connectivity with each other. We knew each other inside and out, and it was just easy to play with each other. And you talk about a group that is coming in 2022 where they've been waiting their turn. They're eager, and they've been coached by one of the best offensive line coaches there is, Coach Callie. And I just give them all the credit in the world of developing these guys. And I'm excited about this offensive line group and what we have in store for 2022.
There's been a lot of talk about NIL in college sports, and I read a really interesting story about how your team has handled NIL, and that you have a group which all of the fans can buy into that will give them special access into the program. Tyler, I'll start with you, but I'm interested in all of you kind of explaining the notion of how this is working for the fans and how it's working within your own team.
Yeah, so it's just an opportunity for the fans to get closer to us as players, you know what I'm saying? Just give them an opportunity to see behind the scenes of what happens, you know, every single day in that facility, not just what they see on Saturday. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us to, you know, be better connected with our fan base and, you know, the people who are coming to support us every Saturday. I think it's a really good thing.
How did all this come about, Tanner?
Yeah, you know, so it was originally started at Notre Dame, and Michigan State rolled out a very similar thing, and you know, we saw that it worked there and kind of the blueprint, and you know, we were invited to be a part of it, and you know, we had a lot of questions for him, and we figured it out that you know, this is something that we could do together as players and be a player-led kind of thing, and you know, it made a lot of sense for us because it gave us an opportunity for, you know, guys who maybe want to get into journalism or content creation. They can use that as kind of a skill set to you know, bring value to it, I guess you could say. And but the thing that makes the most sense for all of us is, you know, it's a chance for fans to buy into it. You know, get an NFT, get kind of that access, but also, you know, from a player perspective, it's a even split between everybody who signed up. So it's not like a, you know, hey, this guy made that guy made that.
Right.
It's a total even split thing, and we thought that was extremely fair and decided to go ahead and launch it.
John Michael, I'm going to leave you with the single most important question out here today, and that is, are White Sox going to turn it around, man? Man, it's been frustrating.
Man, they're definitely going to get this season turned around, and I see them winning the AL Central and then making a run at the World Series. So. Yeah,
that's going to be an unpopular stance in Minneapolis. Yes,
I think a lot of Minnesota fans know I'm a White Sox fan, but love you guys. I love you guys.
You're Chicago White Sox or Cubs?
I don't watch baseball.
Oh man, it's all right. It's all right.
Tyler, success for Minnesota this year is what?
Big Ten West title.
Okay, it's been elusive. We'll see whether this is the year the Gophers get there. Fellas, a pleasure to talk to all three of you. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Welcome in Tom Allen now, the head coach of the Hoosiers. And look, Coach, it was disappointing last year. Injuries were a huge part of it, no question. Your team was absolutely rocked by them. How do you put it behind you, learn from it, and move into this year?
Well, you have to, you know, first of all. And the bottom line is that it's how you respond to it. You know, we found ourselves in the middle of it, and it was painful, and it was hard, and it was the pretty much the opposite of what we expected to have happened. But as I challenged our team, what are we going to do? You know, and we're going to be able to make a thorough evaluation, which we did, of our program, everything that we were doing, make changes, bring in a top recruiting class that we've had in the history of our program, and then go back to work. That's been the approach.
You talk about, I'm sorry. You talk about making the changes. You got two new coordinators, Walt Bell and Chad Wilt. That's part of those changes. Each one of those guys has spent time previously in the Big Ten. What appealed to you about each one of them?
Well, first of all, you're trying to find fit. You know, that doesn't change for me. It's always whether we're recruiting players, recruiting coaches. And so when I think about Walt Bell, you know, I had a chance to coach against him, you know, when he was at Maryland. And I was the defensive coordinator at Indiana both those years. We played him when he was there. And so I had in-game experience. And that mattered to me because, you know, it's hard to kind of know a play caller, you know, to get a feel for that. And I wanted to know firsthand. And I had that experience of adjustments, halftime adjustments, just throughout the season, studying them, being able to figure things out and adapting to your personnel. And that to me was big. And that's really what stuck out to me with him. And I just felt like that that was the direction that we needed to go. And then with a guy like Chad, you know, I've been trying to hire Chad ever since I've been in Indiana. He's my kind of guy. You know, he's smart, tough. Cares about his players. He's got a ton of passion, coaches with a lot of energy. I needed somebody that would come in and be a great assistance to me, so where I could allow him to organize the defense, organize the meetings, organize the practice plans, organize the scripts, but I would be able to call it. And so that's not for everybody, you know, and you got to find the right guy. And he's got a great temperament. He was a great culture fit, which I knew for years. That's why I tried to get him here many years ago. But I just appreciate who he is as a man and what he's bringing to our team.
Now, Coach, looking at your offense specifically, quarterback position, there's going to be a battle going into training camp. Jack Tuttle's a guy that we have seen, and it's, don't want to put words in your mouth, but probably a good thing to have a new coordinator just so he can get a bit of a fresh start. You've got Connor Bazelak coming in, who was one of the top quarterbacks in the transfer portal. As you start to evaluate those guys in training camp, what do you want to see out of each of them?
Well, first of all, like you said, they both had an equal start because even though Connor came in new in January, we brought in a new coordinator in January. And so Jack was able to have that same experience for him. They all got a clean slate, learn everything from the beginning, learn the system. And to me, it's about protecting the football. When I think about that, that's kind of what jumps out at me, first of all. And that's mastering the system, having a great command of the offense, knowing exactly where everybody's supposed to be. And then at the end of the day, it's winning the locker room. That team's got to know. They got to believe when that guy, when he steps on the field and we got time on that clock, we got a chance to win that game.
Players always are going to feed off the head coach and the decisions that you make. How difficult is it having to sit in that corner office and saying, I need to go in a different direction? Reevaluate the team and say we've got to go this way if we want to take the next steps?
It's hard. I care about people, and their families, and you just get connected with them, and you put your heart into them, and they put your heart into you and your program, and so those are tough decisions, but you got to just shoot people straight. You got to take ownership, and I had to do that, and obviously things weren't going the direction we wanted them to go offensively, and we had to make a change, and so, but that was tough, and I have just a lot of love and respect for those that have been in that role, and so, but you know what, you make those changes, and you deal with them head on, and then you press on.
Coach, you talk about caring about people. I saw the video on social media of your team playing a little basketball, having a little fun out there. And we're in a world of college football right now that feels very businesslike and almost to a point where it doesn't feel like that exists everywhere else. Is it more important for you now to kind of create that fun family-like atmosphere than it was before?
Well, when you use the word, it's a business, that's hard to kind of say that for me because I want our guys to love coming every day to the stadium, to work out, to train. I want them to have fun playing football. And I get it. I understand the discipline. I understand what we have to do. I understand the bottom line. You got to win. I get that. But you know what? If we're not having fun, we're doing something wrong. And I want these guys to know, because I do believe this, you're at your best. I'm at my best when I know I'm loved, I'm cared for, and I'm having a ton of fun with the guys I'm with.
Transfer portal.
Yeah.
You guys have been able to make some moves there. How has that worked out, and how do you integrate new players into the program?
Time will tell on how that works out for this group, right? Because we'll see how they perform. But I think that I don't use any different philosophy in that I do in recruiting because it's still about fit. Because you still got to have guys that believe in you, who you are, in what you're doing, in both scheme and culture. So that's the fit piece to me. So whether you're attracting coaches or players in the portal, even though the challenge, though, is the process is much more compressed. You might have a few weeks to try to figure it out. So what we've done, if you kind of look at the history there, we try to go after guys that we already know. Okay, we recruited Connor Bazelak before he went to Missouri. Okay, I recruited Sean Shires before he went to Auburn. Okay, so there's a connection there. Or you have someone on that staff that coached him in college that knows him on a daily basis and what he's going to be like when things go against him. That's really the key. Everybody can be a certain way when things are going your way. What are you going to be like when things don't go your way? So, because that locker room is precious to me, and we got to be able to make sure we protect it and we have a team that's close and connected.
What does the addition of USC and UCLA mean for you? You have some California players on the roster, although mostly transfers. Sure. You haven't necessarily gone out and recruited high school players there. Will that change at all? And what's kind of the balancing act between, hey, now we have an opportunity somewhere where our name is going to be kind of front and center versus falling back on what you know? And as you say, you're bringing in a great class before any of that happens.
Sure. Yeah, I would say it had an immediate impact. We already started reaching out to young men in that part of the country as soon as the announcement was made because we understood what that meant. It's a little bit tougher sell to come all the way from there all the way to the Midwest. But now that we're going to be playing games out there and even just maybe the prospect of adding more, who knows how that might look in the future. But there's no question it made an impact. And I think the bottom line is they want to be able to have the chance to feel like I'm going to be able to play some of these games in my backyard.
And Coach, I want to get back on something you said a little bit earlier. You said that the locker room to you is precious. And I know that you have a team that's built on player development. It's built on culture. As you start to look around your locker room, who are those guys that you know you can depend on day in and day out to be the cement culture guys?
Well, I tell you what, 3 of them are here today. and they were picked for a reason. And to me, and we have a leadership council of 30 guys. We actually grew that group. We had 24 in the past. I added 6 more guys to it because I just wanted to have more young men that I was with on a consistent basis developing and training. That was part of one of the adjustments we made this offseason. And to me, when I think about guys like that aren't here, Jack Tuttle to me has stepped up. He's had a great role in leading this football team. I think Jalen Williams is another guy that sticks out to me. Devon Matthews, who we call Monster. Okay, he's a tremendous leader. We have a guy by the name of J.H. Tevis who just got here. He came from another school a year ago and has been a great addition to that locker room. Miles Jackson, another guy, transferred from UCLA. But he fits with us. And I'm telling you, from day one, those 2 guys are both on the leadership council. Guys that were new, but they have bought in, and they've made an immediate impact, and they're huge in that locker room.
You have a conference game right off the bat against Illinois. It's a game that both teams are looking at and saying, hey, it's a winnable game for us and a game that could set the tone. How important is it to play well right off the bat?
Very important. I think that's obvious, right? And so for me, this is the 4th time we've had this happen. The 4th time in 6 years we've opened the season against a Big Ten opponent. And so I'm glad it's at home. I think that's a big deal. And it's an important game. There's no doubt about it. And so the challenge for us is we got to be able to play our best football week 1. And I get it. We don't have a chance to have a preseason game. We got 2 scrimmages. We have a mock game, and then we play. So that's on our coaching staff. That's on our football team to embrace the urgency that's at hand and be at our best on September 2nd.
How do you do that? Like, what's kind of how is it different in a year where you open with a Big Ten opponent than in a year where you would open with someone who maybe be a little bit lesser?
I don't know if it's structurally different. The intensity is different. The sense of urgency is different. You talk to our players, not just the 3 that are here. I've talked to any of our players, and they understand that component. We talked about this 2 days ago with our leadership council, and I wanted to make sure that they understood. And it's been quite obvious that they do, but it'll show itself for sure during the game. But the bottom line is it's a sense of urgency. That's the difference.
Tom Allen, head coach of the Hoosiers. Coach, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have an awesome day. Leo.
Here on our set, Sam LaPorta, Jack Campbell on the offensive side. We got Caevon Merriweather from the defense as well. Great to have all 3 of you here with us. And guys, you heard Gus Johnson with the call there on Nico's touchdown. You think about everything you went through last year. And Caevon, I can start with you. I know it didn't end the way you wanted it to in this building, but man, there were some great memories a season ago. What's the thing that will stand out the most to you when you think of Iowa football in 2021?
I think what stood out is the way we was able to bounce back after those 2 losses to Purdue and Wisconsin. We kind of went back to the drawing board. Knew what we did wrong, and we kind of fixed those following games after that, and we were able to pick up the pieces and finish the season out strong. On a high note, ended up in the Big Ten championship. It didn't go how we wanted to, but we were able to finish strong.
How about for you, Sam?
Yeah, I think looking back on all the fond memories that we had last year, it was a great season, successful season. Didn't end the way we wanted to, like you said, but bouncing back off those 2 losses was definitely a high point for me. I think showing that you can make up for, the lost ground that you've had and just being able to bounce back is something that you can think highly of a team.
Jack, is there a moment that stands out for you?
Yeah, I would say just kind of bouncing off what they said, just how we handled adversity, responded. We ultimately didn't end the way we wanted to, but I'm just excited to get back going this season, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'd say, yeah, all that, just kind of bouncing off what they said. So.
Jack, you had a fabulous year individually. You led the nation in tackles last year. Mm-hmm. I know you sat out the spring due to an injury. Give us an idea of how you're rehabbing.
Oh, yeah, I'm back. The injury wasn't too bad. I just got some stuff cleaned up. Just kind of got a lot of opportunities to take mental reps, mental notes, develop these young guys. But ultimately, you got to take care of your body in order to be on the field, and that's what I was kind of tending to this spring. But right now, I'm 110% ready to go. So.
Sam, offensively, you guys struggled at times last year. What's it going to take in your mind for the offense to be a little bit more dynamic?
I think starting back in January, we kind of hit the chalkboard again, the drawing board, and we took a look at what we did wrong and what we did right throughout the season. And there was some noticeable stuff that we needed to increase, whether that was efficiency in the run game, production in this area or that area. So being able to, work back to the basics and building that throughout spring ball, the chemistry with the quarterbacks and the receivers and the tight ends. And it's just awesome to get back to work and with these guys. And we're really excited for the offense this year.
You are playing what is arguably the glamour position at the University of Iowa, right? I mean, tight end at Iowa, man, you think of the guys who have made an impact not just in the Big Ten, but nationally. Now, why are you laughing? You don't think it's the glamour position?
No, it is. They get coddled.
Yeah, they get coddled.
Yeah, exactly.
How do they get coddled?
Oh no, everyone talks about tight end university, so it's just I feel like once you're tight end at Iowa, you just get coddled.
Oh man,
well, I sense a little positional tension here. I may have opened up a can of worms, but what is it like to think about those guys who preceded you?
To follow the footsteps of the guys that laid the foundation of the tight end university, and just. It's just an unbelievable opportunity for myself and my teammates alike, and to get to be a small portion of that whole thing, it's just awesome. It's awesome to be a part of that and the history that it comes with.
Interested in the quarterback position. I would ask you first, but I want to ask the defensive players first, because I always think you guys have a different perspective on quarterback than the offensive guys do. So what have you seen from each of the guys competing at that spot, Caevon?
I think, their attention to detail and wanting to get better. I think that's what we've been able to see, throughout the spring and throughout the summer. I've seen Spence and Padilla in the film room even now, watching film and trying to get better on their reads and how they're reading the game and how they can attack the game different and improve on their game. So I think just their attention to detail is what's improving, is what's going to make them a little bit better going forward.
What have you seen, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I see two guys who want to get better, and I feel like that's a great starting point. They put a lot of energy and effort into what they do. They love the game of football. So, I mean, you just start right there, and then now it's the time to just go out there and compete and just do what you do. And I'm excited to see them this season. I know it's just a great opportunity for the both of them to just both have a little bit of experience and being able to use that to help the offense. It will be exciting.
Jack and Sam, you guys both went from 3-star recruits, somewhat under-recruited, to players who are being mentioned on All-America lists. And it feels like that is just a common theme at Iowa, right? We see that year in and year out. And so what is it about this program? And Caevon, I'm interested in your take on it as well, though I'd say you were a little higher profile maybe than those guys as a recruit. But give me a sense of kind of how it's gone from, why this happens year in and year out.
Please. I mean, I guess I can take the table on this one. I mean, I feel like you just look at the three of us up here right now. I feel like the only reason we have 3 stars is because we got an offer from the University of Iowa. Start with that. For me,
well, you're saying you would have been lower than 3 stars?
Oh gosh, yeah, I sucked. But I'd say it's just the development that takes place in the weight room, the training facilities, the strength staff, the training staff, just the attention to detail they bring, and the great program that you're a part of. And then for me, it's my position, Coach Seth Wallace, just how he's pushed me to be a better person. Most importantly, but also just the fundamental football basis he's brought me and just allowed me to grow there, and Coach Parker as well, and Coach Bell, just all those guys pouring their energy into me and creating the player that I am right now. I mean, obviously I want to get better, and that's all the goal, but when you go to Iowa, you're going to get developed and you're going to get coached the right way. And you're going to do things the right way. And when you do that, you see, like Sam was talking about, the guys before us, you see those examples, and you just want to be like those guys and then create that turnover that you see every single year. So we're fortunate enough to be here right now. So,
Sam?
To echo the fact about what Jack was talking about, I felt like I was pretty under-recruited in high school, and I think I received my 3 stars after my Iowa offer. You'll be interested to hear Caevon's story as well with his recruitment, because it's awesome. But yeah, it's a developmental program, and you have to learn to do things the right way at the end of the day. And that starts with becoming a great football player, but it transitions into the life outside of football as well. Being a great young man, going to class, being a great community member, things like that.
Hey, Caevon, you were a D1 basketball recruit as well.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of insight into how you made that decision of basketball taking the backseat to football.
Oh, man, it was one that took a little bit of time. I was talking to my mom, talking to my football coach at Belleville about, what my plan should be going forward and, kind of looking at the positives and negatives of my decision of where I should go to college at. Iowa was probably one of the best decisions that I could ever make. Before I even committed to Iowa, I don't even think I had a recruiting profile on 24/7 Sports or Max Preps. Nobody knew who I was until I made that decision. But coming to Iowa, I think one thing my football coach knew is that Iowa would develop me into the football player that I need to be. And I think, from my time here, I think I've seen so many great examples of that and heard so many stories, whether that be Bob Sanders, Tyler Sash, you have Amani Hooker, Geno Stone, 2- and 3-star guys that, went on to become, NFL, very talented NFL players and very talented players in the Big Ten. So to have those examples from years on from years past, and then having such a great coach in Coach Parker, somebody who does such a great job in teaching young players the game of football and making sure that when they get on the field that they're prepared to play the game of football at a high level. I think that's one thing that we do such a great job at Iowa.
I want to ask both of you guys about Coach Parker because this really burns me when you hear about the elite defensive coordinators in the U.S. for whatever reason, and I think part of it is that he isn't out there trying to get himself a head coaching job, right? Mm-hmm. He's the defensive coordinator at Iowa. That's exactly where he wants to be and what he wants to be doing. But he just doesn't seem to get some of the notoriety that some of these other coaches get nationally. And yet 7 straight years in the top 20 in the nation in scoring defense. And the numbers speak for themselves, the production. What makes Phil Parker so good?
I think what he gets out of his players. I think every player who plays on Phil Parker's defense is committed to giving him 110% of everything that he has day in and day out, whether that be in practice, in the weight room, or on the field, especially in the film room as well. Coach Parker's going to give you, Coach Parker's going to give you everything that he has. So you have to repay that, and give him everything that you got when you step across that line on the field.
What do you think, Jack? Why is he so good?
For me, it's his mindset of how he approaches everything. And I feel like all these guys would agree up here. I mean, you could make a really good play in practice, but he would expect better from you and tell you why this play could have been better because if you would have done this, you would have scored a second faster or something like that. So he's always pushing the limits of you being a great football player, and that's something that I just enjoy is being around a guy who's always pushing the limits on things and never settling, and also just his humble approach to things. Like he's not going out there and doing all these fancy things on social media and stuff like that. He's just a guy who loves the game of football over everything. And that's like one of the most meaningful things to me is after a win, getting in the locker room and seeing a smile on his face and a handshake from him. You just really get a sense of the guy right there, and he's coached for over 20 years and all the great players he's seen at the University of Iowa and the tradition right there. So it just means a lot to me just to get a listen to his extensive knowledge and that have that pour out on me and then allow me to just go out there and perform the way that our defense performs. It's pretty neat. So.
Caevon, I was talking about Mazi Smith about this a little earlier. I want to ask you, you had a chance to participate in the Big Life Series trip to Alabama. What did that experience mean to you?
Oh, man, that experience was everything. I think, for every person that went on that trip, I think you got a sense of a different outlook on our society today. I think when we got a chance to listen to those that were a part of those marches in Selma in the 1950s and who actually marched from Selma to Montgomery, and the experiences that they talked about, what they went through with the cops, and them getting pushed back across the bridge, and then them explaining their experiences to what they see in 2020 now. I think you realize we made so much progress in our society today, but we still have so much work that still needs to be done. I think that's something that you got a chance to look at, whether you were talking to somebody who lived in the area of Selma or Montgomery, or whether you were at a museum. You got to just see so much history and got to see so much of what we need to do as a society and what we need to do as a nation, and how we can progress and where that conversation needs to start and how we need to start that conversation to continue pushing progress. I think that's something that we took out of that trip.
How do you push it? Like, what are you going to do back on your campus? What do you take from that to make that kind of change?
I think just pushing knowledge. I think just continuing to making sure that everybody is knowledgeable about what is going on in society and not being blind or being quiet about what is going on. Not just saying that there's going to be change, but actually doing something to progress change. I'm actually taking action.
Caevon, I want to leave with a much lighter note, frankly. Now, I want to preface this by saying I am the worst drawer on the history.
Oh, man, I don't even want to talk about
it. The worst drawer on planet Earth. So I am the last person on Earth. Like, we play Pictionary. I mean, the ragging I get from my family. But this was your artistic rendering,
man. Listen,
of Herky the Hawkeye. Sam, I need your critique here.
I mean, I think it starts off with the human figure. It looks great. The shoulders are great. The 00, the hair. I don't know what's going on with the hair.
I don't know.
But the beak, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of the essentials.
Okay.
It was a good start.
All right, Jack, what's your take on it?
I can't really say much on that because mine would have been a lot worse. But I do like the fact he threw in the 00s.
Yeah.
That's a Herky statement.
He's paying attention. Here's what Herky had. Yeah, Herky was. All right, appreciate the effort.
Okay, the effort there.
Yeah. I think you did a fine job. Again,
Thank you.
I perish the thought of what mine would look like. So, hey, this was a real pleasure. Great to talk to all three of you. Best of luck this year as you look to repeat as West champs.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank
Yep.
Thank you.
We welcome in the head coach of the Gophers, PJ Fleck. And, Coach, what a great year last year. And we saw 6 wins in the conference. It happened a couple years ago as well for you guys. And before that, it hadn't happened since 1973. You won your bowl game again. That's 5 in a row now for Minnesota. It ties the all-time Big Ten record. As you assess where your program is right now and you think about all of these accomplishments, what comes to mind?
Well, I think we're ready to take the next right step, whatever that looks like. This is the most committed team I've probably had at the University of Minnesota. We've got an encore 4, we call them, coming back for their 6th year. A lot of guys that a lot of people probably haven't heard of just yet, but it's their time to shine, and I think that's what we're really excited about.
Coach, you mentioned that you were in the offensive meeting room last year, but you felt like you didn't do a good enough job. What do you mean by that, and what are you going to do different this year?
Yeah, I feel that, when you're a head football coach, your attention's on the entire football team, and sometimes when you have to spend too much time in one room, for whatever reason, we had 5 tailbacks out, we had 4 wideouts miss almost half the year. We had to find unique and different ways to be able to win football games, and at the end of the day, the job of the head football coach is to make sure you score 1 more point than the opponent. We were shortening games the most we could. We were running the ball probably more than we even wanted to. But when you kind of looked around, there wasn't a lot of playmakers to be able to make those types of plays for us. So we had to rely on our defense. We had to make the game shorter. But I felt a few games I was chasing it. I was taking the square peg, jamming it in the round hole. And we ended up with 9 wins where if you put that, 9+ wins in back-to-back normal years, I mean, that's the first time it's happened since 1900 through 1905. So there's things that happened that were really good, but my job as a head football coach is to get the most out of my team, and I didn't feel like I did that all the time.
You mentioned having to run the football a little bit more than you maybe wanted to, and you did that without Mo Ibrahim, who is probably under the radar right now, coming off of injury, a guy who went for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns in a portion of a game that he played in last year. He is valuable to your team. Can you tell us how impactful he is for you guys?
Well, he might be one of the most important players on our football team, not just because of his skill set, but because of his leadership and how people feel around them when he's on the field. And I think when you looked at that first half at Ohio State, I mean, he's running for, like you said, close to 170 yards in the first half, tears his Achilles, and you could just see the team change. And we could talk about all we want of not letting the circumstance dictate your behavior, but that's the guy. That's maybe one of the best players in the country, let alone the conference. And when he went down, some of the guys behind him, they're ready, but they don't know they're ready yet. And the team doesn't necessarily know they're ready yet. Now we have guys that people I think know they're ready behind him as well that can help. Guys on the outside that are going to be ready. Tight ends in the mix that can help. And offensive line, besides John Michael Schmitz, not many people are talking about. And they're not talking about it because we lost 181 starts. But now we only have 35 starts. But this offensive line might be even more athletic and possibly better than we had last year.
Kurt Chiraka's back. What makes him such a good fit for Minnesota football?
Well, I think we've spent a lot of time together, and I think that hopefully I make him a better coordinator because he definitely makes me a better head football coach. And he's so meticulous in his game planning. He's so organized, incredible detail. And his classroom setting is always discussion. It's not just directed orders. And I think that's what made our team really special throughout the years at Western Michigan and the University of Minnesota. He's got a great presence in the room, and I think Tanner's going to benefit off of that again. And we're really happy to have him back.
Coach, you look back to a year ago, and your defense was top 3 defense in the conference, arguably. Not a lot of people are talking about that, but it was a unit that you could definitely hang your hat on when the offense wasn't necessarily holding up their end of the bargain. As you look at your defense this year, what is the expectation for them?
Well, I think we're probably going to have the most experienced, maybe one of the best secondaries. Take Antoine Winfield Jr. out of the mix for a second. Maybe one of the best secondaries we've ever had. Same with the linebacking core in terms of depth. The defensive line, we lost some guys. Got some guys drafted, Boye Mafe, Sezi Adetomiwa, and we have to replace those guys with more inexperienced guys, but we're bigger, we're longer, we're faster, we're stronger than we've ever been. The biggest question mark for our football team, not saying we're not, but as a team and as a whole, how tough mentally and emotionally can we be when that adversity strikes? And that's going to be the biggest question mark for us as a team that we focused on the entire year since January.
When do you get the answer to that? I mean, because you talked about Mo going down in that game against Ohio State, and you had guys who did answer the bell. Obviously, weren't able to win the game, but there's no shame in that. But you had so many backs who stepped up, right? And so it was clear, I think, pretty early on that, wow, we have guys who can answer the bell when adversity hits. We have guys who respond positively. Did you know that in camp about your team, or did it take adversity during the season for you to realize, wow, these guys are built the right way?
I think we had some really good players, but you just don't know until you put them in live action. I mean, we got to 2 freshman tailbacks at the end of the year where we're like, oh, these are the guys we have. We're going to play them. And then they go out there and play, and they're spectacular backs. Right. And then they both transfer, and now you have other freshman backs that are being able to provide depth for you as well. But you don't necessarily know until guys actually go into the game. But that whole part about toughness, we talked about since January. So we've been building that, finding out what type of team we have through winter conditioning, spring ball, summer workouts. But the commitment level from this team shows how tough these guys are going to be.
What have you learned about the portal now that you've done it 2 years?
Well, I think when people talk about the portal, there's this negative connotation about just when you hear the word portal. We've benefited off it just as much as we've lost players from it. I think it helps you fill some holes. We prefer transfer players that have multiple years so they can be developed in the culture, have multiple years to play. But if it's good for the student athlete, it needs to be good for college football. And I think if we keep that model and keep thinking that way, then we're going to make a lot of good decisions as we keep moving forward.
Do you think most coaches are thinking that way?
I do. I really do. I think for everybody that I think there's a little bit of a stereotype where that word goes with like just some negative words, but it shouldn't be that way because just as much as you lose, you're going to be able to gain if you do that. And we have lost a lot of great players. We've also gained a lot of great players as well.
I know you joke around about this. You say Tanner Morgan looks a lot like you. I know you two have a really.
I feel so bad for him. It might be, I don't know if that's good for me. I'll take it. If I look like a 24-year-old, which I know I don't, I'll take it. I know you do. Yeah. But some of us don't. I feel bad that he looks like a 41-year-old head coach.
I'm going to leave it right there. But you two have a really close relationship. Obviously, it's very important for the head coach and the quarterback to be like that. But what has your experience been like coaching a guy like Tanner Morgan?
Well, it's a great experience. I mean, it's one of those experiences. I think the best relationship in sports, and maybe the most important, is the head coach and the quarterback. You get all the credit when you win, and then you got to give it to other people. You have to be willing to do that. You're going to take all the blame, and then you have to take all that blame and take it upon yourselves. And you share that credit, you share that misery at times, right? So it can be a very lonely position at times together. But he is such a servant leader. He constantly thinks about other people all the time. And now he's married, and I think that guarantees you to play even better than you ever have. So we're going to find out.
We will find out, indeed. PJ Fleck, head coach of the Gophers, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much, Coach, and best of luck this year.
Appreciate it. Row the boat, Sky Mago Gophers.
And joined by a couple, few, I should say, of the Huskers. More than a couple. Garrett Nelson is with me, Quinton Newsome, Travis Vokolek. Guys, welcome. Great to have you here. Let's start with this. Last year was challenging for you, not because you weren't in games. You were in every game, but because you couldn't quite get over the hump. Travis, I'll start with you. I'm interested to hear from all three of you. Yep. What do you need to do to turn the narrow defeats into wins this year?
Yeah, so something we really focus on in the offseason is finishing. Really paying attention to the details and everything we're doing. With every sprint, we're working our rear ends off and conditioning in the weight room. So just getting through that workout and really finishing is something we've been focusing on. And then, doing our player-led stuff, just really working hard on the details, mastering those details. And that's something we need to focus on.
Quinton?
I would say that I agree with Travis 100%. We need to focus on the little details and just clean up the mistakes and be able to hold each other accountable at the end of the day and just be able to be leaders on this team for our younger guys.
Garrett?
Yeah, it was like going to a bar every Friday and talking to a chick all night, and all of a sudden her boyfriend walks over and takes her home, we needed to have honest conversations as leaders of the team and as teammates to really understand what the issue was, what the problem was, because like you said, we were in every game, but we never finished. We never came out on top with going 3-9 against some really good teams. Holding each other accountable, understanding and having those honest conversations with coaches and players, and really getting to the root issue of why are we not coming out on top of these games.
Is there one theme that stood out to you guys? Is there something where, if we just did X, we'd win those games? You talk about, hey, why? Well, what was the why?
Well, the what, like he said about finishing, when there was critical moments and somebody needed to make a play, we made a mistake, and the other team capitalized. Those teams were just waiting for us to make a mistake and just capitalizing on that. They weren't worried if we were up or if we were coming back, because they knew that we would shoot ourselves in the foot. Looking at our team and having that conversation, understanding how do we get to the root cause of this issue. Like they said, being disciplined in practice, knowing the little things when you line up the line to do a sprint. Is your foot behind the line? Are you doing the jumping jack correctly? Are you lifting in the weight room every day 100% and holding each other accountable when Ty Robinson, a fellow D-line guy, is not running or lifting as hard as he can, or focusing when he needs to be focusing, and being honest to each other and calling each other out and holding each other accountable truly as teammates and as brothers. That's what we needed to do as a team.
So how hard is that to do, Quinton? Like, how hard is it to kind of get on each other's cases and yet use it to rally rather than to kind of point fingers?
I feel like it all depends on how you address the person. It's never any type of disrespect when it comes to just holding your teammate accountable. It's more of like, I know you could do better, so I'm going to get on you about this. And if the guy feels the type of way, then it's like, okay, this guy needs to grow up, because nothing's personal. We just want to come together as a team.
Well, your first opportunity to come together as a team this year is a really unique opportunity. You guys get a chance to go to Dublin, Ireland, to play Northwestern. How much do you know about Ireland, Travis? Like, is there something you're looking forward to doing there other than playing the game?
Yeah, I don't know too much about it other than a little bit about the golf part of it. I know there's some crazy courses there that would be fun to play, but I'm really excited. I've never been outside the U.S. I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, it's a business trip for us. Obviously, we're going over there to win a football game, and we're really excited about it.
Do you guys get any time to yourselves while you're there, or time as a team to sightsee? Or
we don't really want any time. We just want to go win the game. Yeah, we don't care. All right. We want to go over there and win the game. Go home.
So the game could be anywhere.
Could be in Japan. It could be in Ireland. It could be in Abu Dhabi. We don't care. We want to play and win the game. That's what the fun part about it is.
Abu Dhabi would be a good place to have a game. You should maybe
the sand dunes. Oh man, that'd be fired up. And he's a golf nerd. He was talking about I looked up the golf courses. Golf nerd over there. Yeah, whatever, man.
Travis is going to try to sneak his clubs onto the plane. I might have a sense.
Yeah.
Right. What about the fact that you're playing, you won one conference game last year, and that conference game was Northwestern, and you annihilated them. Yeah. So does it give you confidence? I'm not saying like that you're overconfident, but you know what you need to do. You need to pile wins together this year. Does it give you confidence to know that this first game is against a team that you did beat a year ago? So any self-doubt you might have might be erased to a certain extent by, hey, we beat these guys last year.
Never underestimate your enemy. We know that, we played them last year, but that was last year. It doesn't matter. They want to punch us back in the mouth for what we did to them last year, and we know that. Never underestimate them. They're a good team. They've won the Big Ten West, 2 years out of their last 4. They're a good football team. They're a disciplined football team. Like you said, they don't beat themselves. That's how they win games. Us as a team, we need to focus on what we're doing and not focus on what they're doing. We need to focus on, like they said, those disciplinary issues. How do we focus? How do we not get a false start? That's what we need to focus on as a team. We need to focus on Nebraska and not Northwestern. And that's how you go 1-0.
Well, let's focus on Nebraska. I want to talk about Mark Whipple. We highlighted him off the top. Travis, you're on the offensive side. So give us a sense of Mark Whipple and what we can expect from this offense.
Yeah, Coach Whipple came in. Really like Coach Whip. He's a great guy, good guy to talk to. You can have honest conversations with him. He's bringing an offense that, as personally I'm a big fan of. Lots of opportunities for the tight ends to go out and make plays, as well with receivers and running backs. So it puts our playmakers in perfect positions to go out there and give them the opportunity to make plays.
What's it going to look like? I mean, schematically, what is a Mark Whipple offense?
Yeah, you know, it's a little different, but it's a little the same of what we did last year. There'll be many ways where we'll have tight ends out in space, and then we'll be in line as well, and it'll be fun. You guys will see. So,
Quinton, what's it like to defend this new look offense?
Oh man, it's always a great look, man. It's just so many things that they bring into us that we've never seen before. Even when it comes to one-on-ones, they bring us different routes, and whenever we do team good on good, it's going to be something we never seen before, different concepts. I think that is great to see out of the offense, and I can't wait to see what they do.
What about the defensive side, Garrett? Now, I want to ask you first about the group up front, and you are part of that group. And I think if there is a concern about this defense, it would be just there isn't a ton of experience depth up there. Who are some guys who might have stepped up in the offseason that we may not know about or might know just a little bit about that you think could end up being real key contributors this year?
Colton Feast, Nash Huntmaker, Jamari Butler, Blaze Gunnerson. Those guys have matured phenomenally in this offseason, and we know we need a big season out of them being young guys and not having a ton of experience. They might have played some time, 20 snaps a game, but they're not hundreds of snaps in a season. Those guys, some of them are the strongest dudes in the weight room, and like you said, we depended on them as a team right now to have that depth that we need and that experience that we need. Those guys have done a phenomenal job, and I'm really excited to watch have them play on Saturdays.
You and I were talking before we got on the air. You are from far western Nebraska.
Yeah.
You grew up on a dairy farm. You were saying 7 hours west of Lincoln?
7 hours, yeah.
It's a long way. How did growing up on a farm impact you in terms of maybe its work ethic, or how did kind of that lifestyle turn you into the player you are and the person you are?
My dad grew up on a dairy farm, and it seemed like we grew up on a dairy farm because when we living in Scottsbluff, obviously we're surrounded by cows and fields, so there's more cows than people. So my dad instilled that work ethic into us early. I mean, every time he'd come upstairs and he thought we would be relaxing, he said I would have a job for you. Me and my brothers, we'd go outside and we'd either be ranch hands or it'd be farm hands, branding or moving cattle or building cattle tanks or doing something with livestock. So, we did a lot of manual labor growing up, and at the time I thought it sucked because it was Saturday and I wanted to hang out with my brothers and have a good time. But, I didn't know what my dad was doing, and now being older and maturing, I understand why he was doing it and understand the lessons that he taught us through. That hard work that we had on, going to farms and doing that manual labor.
Either of you guys been out there to Scotts Bluff?
No, sir.
No? He hasn't invited you.
It's great. It's great Mexican food. You're gonna love it. Yeah, it'd be great.
Travis, what about you? Austin Allen was a great tight end at Nebraska. He chose to move on.
He did.
How does that now change things for you in terms of your role on this team?
Yeah, Oz is a great player for us last year, and one of my best friends, a great leader. I'm just trying to follow in his footsteps. Him and I got a little deal going on. Giving him a little bit of crap about breaking his record that he set last year on receiving yards and stuff. But I'm just trying to follow in his footsteps and be just as good of a leader as he was, and be as good of a player as he was.
While we're on the topic of leadership, Quinton, I know that Coach Frost has really challenged you to be a leader in that secondary. How do you lead? What's your leadership style?
I would say I used to lead by example, but now I've become more of a vocal leader. So instead of just trying to show people how to do it, I open up my mouth a lot more. It's something that I've really been working on over the summer. And I would say that I still have more improving to do, but I think I've made a big step over the summer. And I would say that a lot of the guys, they believe in the things that I have to say, and they follow me.
Was that a decision that you made that, hey, I need to be more vocal, or did someone, whether it's your teammates or coaching staff, say to you, hey, it's got to be more than just leading by example?
I would say more both, because they would tell me that I needed to be more vocal, but it's like you can't make somebody be more vocal unless they actually want to step into that role. So it was something that I didn't shy away from. It was something that I just embraced, and I just took control of it, and I feel really good about it.
Guys, there's no great secret. This is a big year for Coach Frost. How much have you spoken about it internally? Travis, I can start with you. I'm interested from all of you. Like, is that a rallying cry somehow on the team, or is it just something, hey, everyone knows what's going on, and we're just going to go about our business?
Yeah, we know we have a lot to prove this year, and we're super excited to get out there and play. And I think guys are motivated no matter what. So we just want to get out there and play football, and we're super excited.
Quinton?
I would say that, yeah, we definitely have a lot to prove. But at the end of the day, we all believe in Coach Frost, and we all just keeping along with the plan. We all know the potential that this team has, and we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, with other coaches on the staff as well as him, those guys have been father figures to me, and a lot of guys on the team. They've done more than anybody's ever known for us to help us with life, with football, with everything. They've been there every step of the way, helping us as men, as football players. They're developing us as responsible husbands, as brothers, sons, eventually one day fathers. And you take care of that, the football will take care of itself. And obviously seeing it as a player, all the flack that he takes for games or things outside of that, fires you up as players and as a team to defend the guy that you love the most and that loves you back, and will have your back in every situation. So we don't need to say it as a team, but it's an unspoken thing that obviously we, like you said, have to stack wins for this guy. He's from Nebraska. He loves being at this place. I want him to stay. Everybody wants him to stay. We want to win for this coach, and we want him to be. I want him to be happy again. Everybody wants to be happy again.
Last question for you guys. How do you define success for Nebraska this year?
Like Travis said in the tunnel, he said it perfectly. We got to go 1-0 every year, every game, every week, every practice. That's how you win. We can't look at it as a whole. How do you eat an elephant? Eat it one piece at a time. You know what I'm saying? You can't look at fall camp as 20 practices or however many it is. You got to look at it at one practice. I got to make it to lunch. That's my first segment. After lunch, I got to make it through walkthrough and the rest of the meetings. And all right, how do you get after that? Then at night, and you do that every day, every practice until you get to Northwestern, and then you break up Northwestern.
So that's the success. Elephant eating this year?
Yep.
All right.
One bite at a time.
All right. We will see whether the Huskers are able to consume the elephant. Great to talk to all three of you. Thanks a lot, fellas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
There was lots of that for Maryland last year. Really dynamic offense for the Terps, and they bring back a significant percentage of it. Fourth most returning production in the Big Ten. Plus, remember, they had a couple players miss significant time in that wide receiver group due to injuries last year, including Dante Demas, who will be back, new defensive coordinator. We were talking about Brian Williams earlier with Coach Locks, and plenty of key returnees, including a couple guys up on the set here. Jakorian Bennett and Adetomiwa. And Jakorian showing off the duds. All right. We're getting a tour of the suit there. What do we think, fellas?
I like it. I like it a lot.
All right. So what's happening back there? That's our
little slogan. The best is ahead.
The best is ahead.
Yep.
All right. Well, now, so obviously custom made.
Yep.
Right? Take me through this suit journey. These guys are no slouches either. But yeah,
he's sharp as well. But I had to get the initials right here.
Okay.
Got the the B initial.
Right.
Got the name in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bow tie. Bring the Southern flavor. So yeah.
Jakorian Bennett, Rakim, Jarrett, Adetomiwa. Guys, great to have you with us. You're coming off a really great season, right? I think there was a sense last year that maybe you had a chance to break through a little bit, and you set the table. I know you all feel like the best is yet to come, but what does it mean to have some momentum in this program now, Leah?
I think it, coming off the Pinstripe Bowl, I think it gave us a lot of confidence and a lot of motivation to go into the next offseason, working hard. And I think it was really the process, that we went through before the Pinstripe Bowl and doing fall camp practices and, Coach making it hard on us. And I think us as a team, we understood that, if we continue to work hard, great things like that could happen for us. And we kind of took that mindset going into spring and as well as summer.
So, Rakim, what's the next step? How do you go from that, which is winning a bowl game, having a winning record for the first time in a while, to really becoming the team that you want to be?
I think the standard is now getting to a bowl game, not just winning 6 games. And I think it's much more to do instead of going 7-6. I think this next step is 10 games now, beating the top-tier teams in the Big Ten.
So, Jakorian, how do you do that? How do you go from a team that wins 7 to a team that wins 10?
It all starts with the details. Last year, we kind of beat ourselves a lot, just with penalties, not doing our assignment. But now we're just focused on details, focused on doing the little things, and, everything else will handle itself.
Give me an example of a little detail that can go wrong that you're trying to fix and how you go about fixing it.
From a defensive perspective, I say just reading your keys. So if you have to read the tight end on the 8-man line of scrimmage, and you're not doing that, and you're, trying to go to your pass drop and then you run the ball, the gap's wide open. So, that's 10 yards a pop. So, that can hurt us. So, yeah.
Okay. So the little things you can see on film.
Things you can control.
Yeah. Control the controllables, right? Hey, Coach Locks is back, and not a surprise, but also got a really nice contract extension. Right. So you know that he is set as the coach long term. Why is he the right guy for this program, Rakim?
Coach Locks, he's from the area. He's a Maryland guy, D.C. guy. He knows how to recruit the area. He knows who's who and what to do. So, and he's a down-to-earth guy. I mean, he's a guy you want to play for. He can relate. He's from the DMV, so he knows what players go through and what players need. So I think those are the biggest things. Being able to relate to your players and knowing what they need are the biggest things.
Leah, you set the school record for passing yards last year, and Coach Locksley was up here and said he wishes that you got more recognition than you have gotten. But at the same time, I know he has emphasized to you there are areas where he really feels like you can get better. So where are the areas where you think you can get better?
I think if you look at last year, the biggest number that pops out is the turnovers. And, just taking care of the football, I think, we could have put a lot of more points on the board if we had the ball in our hands, and also converting third downs, stuff like that. In the red area, we got to come away with touchdowns instead of, depending on, field goals and stuff like that, and just helping the defense. When they get a stop, we gotta play complementary football, and I think if we could do those things, we can be up there with everyone.
Rakim, how have you seen Leah develop as a quarterback?
His poise. I mean, he never gets too high on his ups and never gets too low on his downs. And I think that's what you need in a guy that's leading your team. So I think his poise and his resiliency is probably the biggest things.
How about from a defensive point of view?
On Leah?
Yeah.
He's always the first person in, and these two are the last ones out. They watch film together at the end of practice, at the end of every practice. And so just seeing that, it kind of made me want to, put a little more preparation in, to kind of elevate my game.
Jakorian, I love your story. I mean, you are a player who was completely unrecruited coming out of high school. You literally had one offer, right?
Yeah.
And it was from?
Hutchinson.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, but I know you ended up at junior college. Oh, yeah. I feel like that was somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember myself.
Right. I mean, but nowhere, nowhere Division I. You had no Division I offer. So you go to a community college, right, to junior college. And now here you are, right? You're playing in one of the most high-profile conferences in the country. Yep. You're representing your school at Media Day. You got a sharp suit. You're feeling good. I mean, when you think about that journey, what do you think about?
A lot of perseverance. Just kind of, keeping the main thing. And, I was counted out, a lot of times when I was coming up. And, I only started 1 year in high school. And so when I thought, I was on the come up, went to junior college. So I had to, start a new journey. But it all, kind of transformed me to the player and person I am today. So I'm very grateful to go through all that, and I'm ready to just keep on going.
What did you learn from that journey? What's the biggest thing you took from your journey?
Confidence. Confidence is the biggest thing, especially for me, at this level. Like, everybody has, all the ability. Now it's just about, trying to separate yourself. So just really my confidence and just trusting the process.
What do you guys think when you hear that story? I mean, you were an uber recruit, right? Everyone in the country wanted Rakim Jarrett. Everyone in the country wanted Leah Tagovailoa. What do you guys think about when you hear his story?
It's just a testament to who he is. I see him in the locker room and how he works, and it just shows that he wants it, and what he came from isn't where he wants to be.
Leah?
Yeah, I think it's very inspirational. I mean, JB, he's the type of guy, you know, to come in the locker room, smile on his face, and, you know, you wouldn't think he has any problems. And, you know, for us to hear his story and, you know, the things that he's been through, him taking care of his mom and, you know, his family and stuff like that, I mean, that's inspirational right there.
Rakim, this wide receiver crew has a chance to be really special.
Right.
We were talking about, I mean, not just yourself, but you got Jayshon Jones, as I mentioned, coming back from injury. Dante Demas, you got a really good transfer in Isaac Copeland. Give us a sense of what this group could be.
I mean, it's almost a pick your poison type of group. I mean, you can pick one to stop, but the other three are going to be there. I think it's going to be very hard for the defenses to hone in on one person, even though they've seen what they've seen on film. So I think it will be fun, and we got the right guy throwing the ball to us.
Yeah, what kind of a luxury is that for you, Leah?
Oh, it's a big blessing, you know, having guys like that who want the ball in their hands and who want to work, and you know, it's been very motivating for me, and you know, it does take a lot of pressure off me, you know, knowing that I have a lot of playmakers. I can just get the ball in their hands, and I feel like that's where they're best at, with the ball in their hands. So that's going to be good for us and good for our offense, and hopefully, you know, we can take this thing all the way.
As a defensive back, would you line up against those guys? What's that like?
And it's great, honestly, because if you're going against, you know, arguably, you know, best receiver core in the country, that's only going to make you better.
Right.
So, you know, and all of them have their own unique skill set. Like, got a shifty, fast, physical type of receiver, or you got your Dante Demas, 6'3", big, physical, you know, so you're getting a little bit of everything going those guys. So, yeah.
Tell us about the change in defense with Brian Williams taking over as defensive coordinator. I know he has familiarity with this group. He was the play caller for a couple games at the end of last year, which, as we talked about with Coach Locks, were games where you guys really played well. Yeah. So I know there's a confidence that he can do the job. But give us a sense of how things have changed.
Schematically, things really didn't change that much, but just us being able to communicate more and just being very sound, and like I said earlier, just kind of trusting what the players next to you is doing, and just focus on the details.
Yeah. What have you guys seen from the defense as you've gone against them, Rakim?
They're kind of hard to figure out early on. I mean, safeties rotating, corners changing from a man look to a zone look. I mean, it's complex, but I mean, it helps you for the Iowas and the Penn States and the big name defenses that we're going to play.
Leah, what have you seen from this D?
From this defense, we got a new coach. I think he's done a really great job with really changing up the defenses and really putting our DBs and O-linemen and our whole defense in the right position that fits them best to make plays and stuff. And I think with Coach doing that on that side, you know, it helps us see things differently, you know, maybe adding in new plays to stop those defenses. And a lot of the teams that we play this year do the same type of defenses, you know, that Coach is bringing in. And, you know, it's a lot of new stuff, and but I feel like it's great work for us, you know. Now we get to see it during the summer instead of on film, and the first time actually getting a live rep at it is in the game. So I think it's been good for us.
Leah, having you up here, I feel I'm contractually obligated to ask you about Tua.
Go ahead.
What have you learned from that relationship, just in terms of him having been through what you're going through right now?
I learned a lot. I always talk to my brother about anything that's, you know, heavy on my heart, and he's a good ear to me, as well as my parents, my mom and dad. And, you know, they try to help me with how I should handle things and how they feel is right. And, you know, I listen and try to, you know, put those things into action. So.
Rakim and Jakorian, if you were watching last year's Big Ten Media Days, you might have known this was coming. Or perhaps Leah tipped you off. But spell Tagovailoa.
Rock first.
Tagovailoa.
No, but that was pretty good. That was
Tagovailoa.
That was close, right? That was closer than the guys came last year.
It's been 3 years, Rock. It's been 3 years.
Jakorian?
Tagovilou.
Tagovailoa.
There it is, guys.
Oh, it's an A.
That's close, though. Yeah, that wasn't bad, right? I mean, can you spell Jakorian?
I can spell all their full names.
Yeah, yeah.
Spell Jarrett.
Jarrett.
You thought maybe get him with the double R or the double T, right? maybe you had a chance there. Guys, I want to leave you with this, and I ask every team when they come up here what success is for their team. Like, how do you define success for Maryland this year? So, Jakorian, you get to go first. This will be a successful year come the end of January when college football is over if Maryland has done what?
I'm going to keep saying the Big Ten Championship.
Okay. Kim?
Big Ten Championship.
Yes, sir. Big Ten Championship.
All right.
Anything less? No, sir.
Not successful.
Not successful.
We'll see whether we see the Terps back here on December the 3rd.
Yes, sir.
For the Big Ten Championship game. Fellas, it's a pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
sir.
right. You need to give the guys a heads up.
I know.
Although it's kind of fun to watch them squirm a little bit. Isn't it?
I was practicing, too.
As we welcome in the head coach of the Huskers, Scott Frost. And Scott, playing in week 0 is not new for you. You did this as recently as last year. The change, of course, is that it is in Dublin. So logistically, how does that change things for you?
We had to adjust a lot going all the way back to make sure that the schedule worked out. Planning on doing it last year and to get a chance to go over there. So our team's excited to go. I think the biggest challenge for us is making sure that the players understand the issues that come along with playing in a game like this, that we're mature and handle it well and know we're going over there for a reason, and that's to try to win a football game.
I'm guessing I'll probably be the only person to ask you this today, but you lost a lot of close games last year. How do you turn the narrow defeats into wins?
I think just by having a little more killer instinct in us and finding a way to finish football games. We kept ourselves in all the games, had some bad breaks, but we didn't make it happen at the end of games. And there's a saying in coaching, you got to, as you're trying to rebuild, you got to lose big, then lose small, then win big. And we've certainly done enough of losing small. I think our players have a chip on their shoulder right now and are excited for opportunities.
Coach, a lot of new coaches on offense. What are some of the things that you help them with fitting into your program and your culture and how you want things done?
We have a lot of new faces in our program in general, players and coaches. I think we have a lot of talent and a lot of good pieces. It's got to become a team, and that goes for the coaching staff and the players. We all need to come together to make sure we're one team and one heartbeat. And I think a lot of that work has been done, but there's more work to be done. From a coaching staff perspective, we have to make sure we're on the same page with everything. Old ideas and new ideas, and from a player standpoint, the new guys need to fit in the locker room just like everybody else. So we've done a lot of work to get there, but there's more to be done during camp.
I know you always like to somewhat close the book on last year, but when you talked about losing some of those close games, sometimes there were penalties that would happen at opportunities and moments. Is that something that's correctable, or is that something, hey, guys, we got to be responsible. We have to know what the down and distance situational football and be able to, keep our composure in those situations. Is that what you need to do?
Yeah, I never felt our kids panic. That wasn't it. Sometimes it was penalties. A couple times it was PATs. A couple times it was a turnover. It was a punt. It was something new every game, and you couldn't quite predict what was going to happen. I think the biggest thing is we need to win a few games to get some momentum, get the kids believing, kind of get over the mindset that something bad is going to happen. And when it's happened a bunch, I think even in the back of some of our players' minds, it was still there. And I think having the new players and new coaches is going to really help that, because those guys haven't been through that. And they bring a confidence to our team that I think adds to what we have.
Coach, when you restructured your offensive staff, will your role with the offensive staff change?
It will. I'm going to have a little less to do with it. We're having fun right now, kind of marrying some of the things that the new coaches know about with some of the things we've done in the past. And they're coming from places where they've been really good. We've been really good in the past. And the more ideas you have, the better, as long as we can consolidate it and make it a sound scheme.
How would you characterize the offense that we'll see this year?
We'll have to wait and see. We went into week 0 last year. and we didn't know what the other team was going to be doing for sure. And I think having some new pieces on our staff might give us a little bit of that this year.
So it's safe to say you know what you're going to do. You just don't want anybody else to know at this particular point. A little early.
We've got a game plan kind of in the books already for week 1 and week 2. We're going to have to come back from Ireland and be on a short week from traveling overseas, so we need to have both those ready.
Any regrets the game's not in Rome?
I like Rome. I like Rome, but I've never been to Ireland. I'm looking forward to it.
You had to make it about.
No, I
just ask a question.
You're Irish, aren't you?
The Italian Irish.
I know some Irish people.
Here we go.
It's a common theme for DiNardo. Yeah. I want to ask you about the defense. The defense has gotten steadily better during the time that you have been there. What's the next step for that group this year?
I think we've gotten better for a couple reasons. We've gotten more consistent, and we've just kept adding more talent. We weren't talented enough early on in my time in Nebraska, and we got guys that can make plays now. A lot of key guys returning for us. Some guys that weren't technically starters but have played a ton of football for us. We've added some pieces in the transfer portal. I'm excited about that group because I think overall that group can be as good or better than what we've had in my time in Nebraska. And Coach Schneider's got to do a good job putting those new pieces together with the rest of them and making it happen.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Overall strengths of your team coming out of spring practice?
I think depth has really changed, Coach. We got a lot of options at a lot of different positions. I think just the attitude and mindset of the team has continued to get better, and I'm really happy with where it is. Kind of, illustrated by these leaders that we have here. Talking to them on the way up here, they're hungry and excited for this season.
No great secret, this is a big year for you. How do you handle that with the players? How do you handle that with the other coaches? How do you handle it personally? The fact that there's going to be this microscope on you and people are going to be talking about how does this impact Scott Frost in his future?
That doesn't change when you're at Nebraska. That's the case every year. My first year it was that way. If I'm here for 10 years, it'll be that way. So you don't really notice much difference. I just think, like I've said a couple times here, that the guys coming back and myself all kind of have a chip on our shoulder. We know we're doing things the right way. We've improved. We've become a really good football team. We just didn't get it done at the end of a few games last year. So I think there's a hunger to make sure we go out and prove ourselves.
How do you handle Dublin with the guys? I mean, are they going to have any time to themselves to kind of look around? I mean, you guys, unlike Northwestern, they've got a week off after that game. You do not. So how do you handle that?
I've been telling the guys, this isn't a bowl trip. We didn't earn a trip to go have fun. This is a business trip. And we're going over there and keeping the same practice schedule we would have had at home. And we're going to see a couple things and maybe experience the country a little. But I want our mindset to be that we're going over there for one reason only, that's to play football.
Casey Thompson transfers in from Texas. How similar was the offense he ran at Texas to maybe some of the things you're going to do?
Well, he's been a part of a couple offenses now. Sark does an unbelievable job down there. I think a lot of the schemes probably carry over, but anybody that comes in has to at least learn a new language and some new details. He's done a good job, and there's going to be a competition at that position, so looking forward to watching that unfold during camp, and may the best man win.
You talked about being able to really bring in different ideas from other places, from the new guys that are coming in. Do they need to change their terminology, or do you keep the same terminology to help the players be able to adapt a lot quicker?
As much as possible, we took the best of both and tried to put it in our language to make sure that the players had an easier transition.
When do you want to have a decision on quarterback?
I don't care. Whenever it's clear who it's going to be. Obviously, Casey's played a lot of football and is the favorite, but we got some talented kids behind him that have done really good things through spring and summer. So we're going to get a lot of reps in fall camp. We'll figure it out.
It was obviously not a question mark here early in your tenure. You knew who your quarterback was going to be. What's your style on that? Are you one who wants to publicly declare that this is our quarterback, or would you just say it internally and let people find out on the first snap?
It's hard to keep secrets in Nebraska, but as much as we can, we keep things in-house. And, I don't care if it's right up to the first game. The people in the program are going to know who's playing best, and I think it'll be pretty clear with all the reps we get who the best player is.
Any changes on your thoughts about the portal now that we've had it for a couple years? Have you approached it any differently year 2 and year 1?
No, it's a pain in the ass, Coach. But
tell us how you really feel, Scott.
But it's helped us, and I think it can be big for Nebraska. There's so much passion around Nebraska football, and we've already gotten so much support for our players with NIL, and that combination of NIL and transfer portal has helped us add some really good pieces. So we're continuing to look for opportunities for our players and people that want to help support our players through NIL, and that's helped us get some kids in the transfer portal. It changes the way you think. Roster management is tough now, but I think it can really help us add some good players to our team.
Is that the biggest pain, the roster management?
It's one of them, yeah. You know, luckily we can't have anything to do with NIL stuff, which is great, so that I don't have people coming and asking me, because I don't have anything to do with it. Roster management is tough. It used to be you lose 25 kids and you recruit 25 new freshmen, and now you got to save spots, and kids are leaving and coming and going, and you might not have predicted it, and it's a little more difficult than it used to be.
Were you able to create a different area for that, as far as personnel that are able to look at just exactly what's going on in that landscape, so that you can make great decisions when you go after kids in the transfer portal?
Yeah, we've restructured our recruiting department in the offseason, and part of it was to address some of the changes that are happening with the way things are being done.
Scott, the American Football Coaches Association, do you feel like that's gotten stronger and you might have more of a voice than you used to, or is it just status quo?
Coach, I know you experienced it too, but I hope so. You know, there's a lot of leaders in our sport that do a great job, but there's a lot of times the coaches disagree with some of the directions we're going, and we don't feel like, I know in the Big Ten, like our opinion matters as much as it should sometimes. And there's some good people that have the best interests of college football at heart coaching in this league, and I think we ought to listen to them.
You've already had some good success going into California and recruiting, but does adding USC and UCLA change the recruiting equation for you in any way?
We'll see. We'll see where this whole thing lands, and anybody's guess is as good as mine. You know, we're the farthest west team in the Big Ten, so if it expands out that way, it might open up some area for us. We got to be a national recruiting team, though, and if we push west, great.
You've had historically, you've had great success in California, correct? I mean, Coach Osborne was out there a lot.
Yeah, we used to kind of have some pockets back a long time ago in recruiting, you know, the Gulf Coast of Florida and parts of Texas and Jersey and California. So some of those historical areas have been good to us.
Scott Frost, head coach of the Huskers. Thanks a lot, Coach. Enjoy the trip to Ireland.
Thank you.
It doesn't sound like you're going to be on the Lynx at all. But no.